Chapter 441. On the 17th, in the demon camp, the demon flag with 2 swords on it was fluttering in the wind. The whistling sound spread far and wide. In the central tent, a group of high-level demons silently waited for Qian Feng to speak. On the other hand, Qian Feng's brows were tightly furrowed as he gently dragged his finger across the map, making squeaking sounds that made the nearby major captains feel a little uncomfortable. Have they already led the river to the city wall? After a while, Qian Feng suddenly asked. Yes. Lian Xiao cupped his fists and said, I suspect that Lin Muyu has many warships or fishing boats in the Five Valleys city. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone through so much trouble to excavate the Paddy River. Moreover, our winged ones have heard that there seems to be an underground dock in the Five Valleys city that has not been maintained for a long time. There should be many warships in the dock. Warships? Qian Feng gently pressed his finger on the Daojiang Basin on the map. His eyes turned cold. Good. Lin Muyu wants to bypass our dozens of fortresses through the waterway? It seems so. Humph. Have the Hui people arrived yet? Yes. 5,000 Hui people are waiting for the marshal's order in the water. Very good. Qian Feng pressed his hand on the map and said coldly, Order the horseshoe men to gather here. When Lin Muyu's warships arrive, dig through them from the bottom of the river. In addition, order all the Jia demons to prepare for the battle in the south of the fortress. Once Lin Muyu's warships are pierced through, he will certainly come ashore. We will intercept and kill him on the shore. This time, I want Lin Muyu to be unable to escape. Lian Xiao was a little happy. Yes. Wait. Qian Feng suddenly waved his hand and said, Does Lin Muyu have an army of the barbarian tribe with huge shields that are very effective against the armor demons? Yes. That's good. Qian Feng narrowed his eyes and said, Gather all the catapults and black beach oil barrels we can use nearby. Then order all the winged ones to prepare fire starters. The marshal wants to attack with fire? Yes. Qian Feng clenched his fist. Humans are good at using fire. This time we will let them have a taste of fire. I want this place to be the burial place of Lin Muyu. Yes. Wugu City, the underground dock. Ding ding dang dang. The warships were launched one after another. Lin Muyu, who was dressed in a white robe, stood at the side silently. Wei Qiu, on the other hand, was full of smiles as he said, Sir, since we have already decided on a plan, why are you still so depressed? Lin Muyu placed her hand on the hilt of her sword and said, Wei Qiu, has a frost-armored horned dragon appeared in the Rice River Valley of Cangnan Province? Frost-armored dragon? Wei Qiu was surprised and shook his head. This kind of underwater beast is almost a special product of Yunzhong Province. Your Excellency, you may not know, but there is an ancient gate over 10,000 years old in the Daojiang Basin between Yunzhong Province and North Ridge Province. It is made of mysterious iron and is called Yunzhong Gate. It is also this gate that prevents the frost armor dragon from entering the Daojiang Basin of Cangnan Province. Therefore, there are almost no fishermen in Yunzhong Province, but there are fishermen on both sides of the Daojiang River in Cangnan Province. Your Excellency, you don't need to worry that we will be attacked by the frost armor dragon here. Yes. Lin Muyu was still full of doubts. No, I still don't feel at ease. For safety's sake, pass down my order to reinforce the bottom of all warships with iron sheets. We will depart at nightfall the day after tomorrow. Everyone in Longdan Army Camp, get on the ships and head north. Yes. At night, the messenger bird Little White slowly landed in the city. After reading the letter, Lin Muyu was overjoyed. She ordered people to find a birdcage and fed Little White inside. The next letter she wanted it to deliver would be very important, so important that it could determine the fate of the empire. Time flew by quickly. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. On the 20th, the demons attacked the city gate twice during the day, but returned without any results. At dusk, all the soldiers in Longdan Army Camp began to assemble. After careful consideration, Lin Muyu finally left a general to guard Five Valley City. She left Su Jiantao, the creator of the all-shield tactic and one of the few fierce generals in Longdan Army Camp. Only by staying in Five Valley City could Su Jiantao be able to suppress Zhao Ritian and the people who were originally in Five Valley City and lead nearly 10,000 soldiers in the city to defend the city. The current was turbulent. One by one, the warships slid into the water. The soldiers in Longdan army camp led the horses onto the ships one by one. Fortunately, the shipbuilding technology of the Empire was very advanced. These warships were like huge monsters. Each warship could carry 300 to 500 people. Therefore, 42 warships were more than enough to carry 10,000 people in Longdan army camp. When Lin Muyu boarded the main warship with Wei Chou and the others, he looked back at Su Jiantao. He only left 200 soldiers in Longdan army camp for Su Jiantao, but he was asked to guard such a large city. It was really unfair for him. "Commander, you must be careful." Su Jiantao worriedly cupped his fists and said, "I will definitely defend Five Valley City. If the commander can win, I can support you. If the commander is defeated, I will wait for you here and defend the city with my life." Lin Muyu stood straight on the deck and gave a standard imperial military salute to Su Jiantao. He said, "Think twice before you act. Five Valley City is handed over to you." What you say might make sense, but are you sure you can handle 5 concubines? General Sen, are your kidneys really fine? Situ Sen's face turned red. Can this general not use it? I'll just watch, it's pleasing to the eye. Bah! Wei Chou laughed. In the middle of the night, there was only the sound of paddles and the night breeze blowing the flags. No one went to rest. Even the commander, Lin Muyu, stood on the deck of the main warship like a statue. She looked at the twinkling stars in the night sky as if they were foretelling some kind of fate, but no one could see through it. Even the so-called prophets didn't know what the Empire's fate would be. At midnight, the first rays of dawn appeared in the east. At this moment, Lin Muyu's spirit pulsar suddenly showed a dense aura at the bottom of the Paddy River. He quickly opened his eyes and drew his sword. "Send the order to prepare for war. Sound the war drums and tell everyone to be on guard. There is something under the water. Archers, get ready." Yes, the war drums sounded. The archers in the Longdan army camp laid on the side of the ship and drew their bows. They aimed at the receding water surface but could only see duckweeds passing by. After a while, there was still no movement. An old general couldn't help but laugh. "Seems like the commander is thinking too much. There is nothing under the water." Swoosh! Suddenly, a soft tongue shot out from the bottom of the water and stuck to the old general's neck. It was like the tongue of a frog catching its prey. It forcefully pulled the unprepared old general into the water. Bang! The water rippled. The next moment, countless creatures in the shape of ancient trilobites with shells on their backs pounced on the old general and tore him into pieces. Fresh blood spread in the water. What the hell is that? Lin Muyu was stunned. Wei Chou squinted his eyes. It looks like a kind of catfish, but it must have evolved. It is similar to the snake people of the demon race. I saw the eyes of those catfish. They are full of hunger and violence. Everyone on guard, Lin Muyu shouted. At this time, a ray of dawn broke through the sky and shone on the warship of the Longdan army camp. Swoosh! Another soft tongue shot out from the water and went straight to the commander-in-chief Lin Muyu. Came at the right time. Lin Muyu's reaction was fast. The dragon spirit sword flashed and cut off the soft tongue. At the same time, she opened her hand and the power of her territory separated the water surface. The golden gourd flew out and grabbed a monster from the water and trapped it in the air. It was an underwater creature that looked like a horseshoe crab. However, it had eyes and arms. There was even a dagger in its hand. It struggled violently in the air and let out an ear-piercing scream. "It's a ho-ren," Situ Sen whispered. This kind of monster is recorded in the East Sea Atlas. They only live in the sea and are the natural enemies of the fishermen. Damn it, why would this kind of monster appear in the Rice River? Chapter 442. The sword light flashed and the captured nightmare was cut into pieces. The water around them twisted violently, even affecting the route of the warships. In the next moment, countless nightmare heads emerged from the water, each of them holding spears, swords, and other weapons. They surrounded the warships, and the sound of spears striking the bottom of the ships came from the bottom of the water. "Damn it!" Situ-san gritted his teeth and said, "These Hui must have been sent by Qianfeng. Are they trying to sink our warships and bury us all at the bottom of the river?" At this time, the soldiers of the Longdan army camp shot arrows into the water. Water splashed everywhere. The Hui did not have the defensive ability of the armor demons, but they were all good at swimming. They immediately dove into the water to avoid the arrows of the Longdan army camp. The sound of chiseling came from the bottom of the ship. Even if they were wrapped in iron, they would not be able to hold on for long. Splash! Lin Muyu opened the map and asked, "Where are we now?" Situ Shui leaned on the side and pointed, "Here, as long as we go ashore, we will almost enter the wildfire plains." "Very good. But Commander, look!" Situ Shui glanced at the shore and saw that there were already some armor demons on the shore not far away. They were running happily with their weapons in their hands, as if they had seen their prey. They were shouting, "Rabba! Rabba! Rabba!" They were probably shouting, "It's time to eat! It's time to eat!" Wei Chou could not help but feel a chill in his heart. Qianfeng wants to eat us? On the left side of the Daojiang River, there was a cliff with 10,000 people on it. On the right side, there was a wildfire field full of armored demons. Above them were winged people, and under the water there were countless Hui people. At this moment, the gutless dragon battalion really felt that there was no way to go to heaven and no way to hell. "Don't worry so much," Lin Muyu shouted in a low voice. "Pass down the order. All warships are to dock to the right side of the shore. The barbarian tribe will open the way and kill a bloody path to the wildfire plains." Yes. One by one, the boats raised their sails and forcefully changed direction, speeding towards the riverbank. This was the main river basin of Rice River. It was not like the tributaries, which were only 300 meters wide. The main river basin was more spacious, with a width of almost 2,000 meters. The speed of the main warship was the fastest. It was the first to reach the shore. Lin Muyu did not even need to lower her feet. With a shout, she landed on the ground with her snow-treading steps. Her long sword released the light of chaos of the common life and killed 5 armor demons easily. In the distance, more and more armor demons were rushing over. Prince Huang, she held a long spear in his hand and landed on the ground with a bang. He growled, "Warriors of the barbarian tribe, follow me to defend against the enemy." In the blink of an eye, thousands of barbarian tribe warriors were in formation with shields in their hands. Under the leadership of Prince Huang, they fought against the armor demons. At the same time, the cavalry of the Longdan army camp also landed. However, in the distance, 3 warships sank slowly before they could reach the shore. Their masts were broken, and nearly 1,000 soldiers were struggling in the water. They became food for the horseshoe man, and blood instantly dyed the river red. "Bastard!" Lin Muyu looked at the river with red eyes. Situ-san said calmly, "Commander, what should we do now?" "Don't get caught up in the battle. Enter the wildfire plains." "Yes." Lin Muyu picked up the birdcage, picked up Whitey, and quickly released it. Whitey was a very intelligent messenger bird. It knew that there was an army of winged ones in the sky, so it quickly flew away. After leaving the winged one's territory, it spread its wings and soared into the sky, heading in the direction that Lai Changfeng had gone. The heavy cavalry of the Longdan army camp took the lead, followed by the shield battalion of the barbarian tribe. After leaving the riverbank, they went straight to the north, stepping on the fiery red weeds. There, the war drums were beating ceaselessly. The armor demons were waiting there. At the same time, the armor demons also appeared in the other 3 directions of the wildfire field and surrounded them. It was like an inescapable net set by Qianfeng. Unfortunately, it seemed that Qianfeng did not observe the rise and fall of the water level in the river. At this time, the elevation of the river had dropped by at least 7 or 8 meters, so that the people of the Longdan army camp were covered with mud. Feng Jixing must have stored a lot of water upstream. As the armor demons approached, the Longdan army camp could only retreat again and again. Finally, nearly 8,000 people of the Longdan army camp quickly lined up in the center of the wildfire field. The shield battalion of the barbarian tribe was outside and the heavy cavalry of the Longdan army camp was in the middle with longbows in their hands. If the armor demons wanted to attack such a battle formation, they would have to pay a bloody price. However, the demons didn't seem to be in a hurry to attack. In the distance, with a squeaking sound, the catapults were pushed to the position by the armor demons one after another. The barrels filled with black beech oil were loaded into the catapults. Wei Chou sniffed hard and said with a frown, "It's the smell of the black beech oil. The demons want to attack with fire." "Yes." Lin Muyu raised her head and looked up. Numerous wing men were hovering in the air. These wing men were all carrying flamethrowers. Presumably, once the black beech oil of the catapults fell to the ground, these wing men would immediately shoot down the flamethrowers. Chen Feng was indeed an unparalleled commander. He didn't even want to suffer a loss. He wanted to destroy the most elite troops of the Longdan army camp. "Brother Feng, you have to hurry." Lin Muyu held the long sword in her hand and murmured silently in her heart. Lai City Dam. The dam had cut off more than 80% of the Rice River's main watershed. As a result, the water level had already risen past the warning line. On the east side of the dam, wooden barrels filled with black beech oil were placed into a deep pit dug in the dam. Burning the black beech oil barrels could cause a certain explosion. This was something that Feng Jixing had witnessed. Only by using this method of explosion could it create a huge wave to hit the wildfire plains. Otherwise, this water attack would be meaningless. "Fire," Feng Jixing said in a low voice. "I hope it works." On the side, Chu Yao, Xiahou Sang, and the others were silent. They all widened their eyes and looked at everything in front of them. Dozens of soldiers ignited the fire. Immediately, the lines of fire in the bamboo tubes burned into the depths of the dam. In the next moment, pung 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 sounds rang out, stirring up clouds of soil and sending it flying. Hundreds of black beech oil barrels exploded, but it seemed that only a hole was blown open. Outside the dam, there was still an approximately 10-meter thick dam arching to protect the water of the Rice River. "Heavens, it can't be!" Xiahou Sang was stunned. "This? How can this water attack? Let me do it." Feng Jixing gritted his teeth and jumped into the water with his long saber. With a ripple, he had already disappeared into the depths of the water. Holding his breath, he swam to the bottom of the water. Feng Jixing opened his eyes and the battle aura around him danced. Even his martial spirit, the purple electric raging flame wolf, was perched on his shoulder. He suddenly let out a low roar and the long saber was ready to strike. Under the surge of energy, the river water started to swirl rapidly, fusing with the saber force. Boom! A pillar of water rose from the river. Chu Yao, Xiahou Sang, and the others were dumbstruck. Pong! Sky-devouring demon blade. The blade energy burst out and rushed to the sky. It directly turned the thick dam into powder. For a moment, the Daojiang River crazily rushed out. But this was not enough. Feng Jixing knew that this kind of flood was not enough to catch the demon race off guard. He barely stabilized his body. The blood in his body surged. With difficulty, he swam close to the bottom of the river. From 10 meters away, he used sky-devouring demon blade again. Boom! The second dam was blasted open. The river water was turbulent. Ah! Under the water, Feng Jixing could not help but vomit a mouthful of blood. Holding the long blade, he continued to move forward. For the third time, he used sky-devouring demon blade. He knew that at this moment, Lin Muyu needed the power of his Saint Realm. The Empire also needed the light and heat of his Saint Realm. Other than him, who else could destroy this thick dam in Lai City? When he used sky-devouring demon blade for the 7th time, Feng Jixing almost exhausted all his battle energy. After a whimper, his body was washed out along with the torrent. Not good. On the riverbank, Chu Yao squinted her beautiful eyes and said, General Feng is injured. Go and find him. Xiahou Sang hurriedly mounted his horse. But the endless flood was rushing in the direction of Wildfire Field. Where could he find Feng Jixing? Dong, 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 dong. The war drums became more and more frequent. The demon race was about to fight. The armored demon legion was only 100 meters away. But the river water had not come yet. He did not know if there was something wrong with Feng Jixing. They are about to attack, Wei Chou said lightly. Situ-san held the long sword tightly and said with a heroic smile, I did not expect that I, Situ-sen, would die for the country like my ancestor. I only hope that my ancestor will not think that I have lost the face of our Situ family when I reach the other side. Definitely not. Situ Shui held the hilt of her saber tightly. Lin Muyu looked back at the crowd and said, Don't act rashly. Everyone, maintain the formation. I will go and disturb the demon race to buy some time. Commander, please do not take the risk. Situ-san cupped his fists and said, Listen to the order. Don't say anything more. Lin Muyu's voice was calm. She urged the treading on snow warhorse to leave the battle formation. Suddenly, she sped up. A golden light appeared in front of the warhorse. She raised the long sword in her hand and rushed toward the demon race's battle formation. Oh my God, is Lin Muyu crazy? Lien Qi's eyes were cold and said, Let me go and meet him. Don't act rashly. Chen Feng rode on the warhorse and said lightly, Even Elder Lianhai was killed by Lin Muyu. I can feel that his strength has increased by leaps and bounds. He must have absorbed Elder Lianhai's demonic spirit orb. Let him kill. I want to see how many armor demons he can kill alone. Speed up the filling of black beech oil. After the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, start projecting fire. Yes. With a kacha sound, the dragon spirit sword's sword chi cut through the heavy shield and cut an armor demon in half at the waist. Lin Muyu rushed forward and the wall of the calabash deflected the armor demon's weapons. She raised her palm gently and the 4 luminaries' demon cry broke out of the ground and killed dozens of armor demons. For a moment, the ground was covered with blood. As the weapons danced, the wall of the calabash finally ran out of energy and disappeared. However, it was replaced by a layer of mysterious Star Lotus armor. Moreover, the defense of the Star Lotus armor was not inferior to the wall of the calabash. Even if it was hit by the weapons, it would only hurt but not hurt. However, after killing nearly 100 armor demons, Lin Muyu hurriedly urged the horse to rush back. The demon race did not chase after her and just let her kill. Dong, dong, dong. The sound of war drums came from the west. Wei Chou, Situ-san and the others turned around and found that nearly 10,000 armor demons had formed an encirclement on the west side. Their spears were pierced with skulls. They were the skulls of the soldiers of the Longdan army camp who died in the battle in the Rice River. It was bloody. Some of the skulls' eyes were not even closed. They died unwillingly. Bastard, bastard. Wei Chou was trembling with anger. Chapter 443. Finally, the demons launched their attack. With the sound of the spring of the catapult, wooden barrels filled with black beech oil flew over and exploded on the ground around the Longdan army camp. However, the demons did not have much black beech oil, at most 200 barrels. After throwing the black beech oil, they began to throw bundles of gray things. Bang! Lin Muyu rode his horse to dodge, and the thing fell to the ground. It was actually a bundle of dry firewood. He could not help but laugh. Chen Feng is really careful. He even prepared firewood for us. Lin Muyu laughed. Immediately, the people in the Longdan army camp who were shrouded in death felt a little relieved. Everyone laughed together with their leader. After bundles of firewood fell to the ground, the winged people in the air also began to light the fire. Flames flickered in the morning light. Get out of the way! Lin Muyu raised his weapon and said loudly, Leave this land stained by black beech oil. Yes. But as the flames fell from the sky, many people were still burned. Miserable howls rang out incessantly. Nearly 100 people were about to die in this fire. But at this time, cries of alarm suddenly came from the distant demon camp, and the entire formation also changed dramatically. What's wrong? Situ-san stared. Lin Muyu looked into the distance and saw that the surging river had already passed the foot of the demon's formation in the wildfire field. It was at least 2 meters high and was covering the sky and earth. It's done. He laughed and ordered loudly, "Everyone, throw away your weapons. Take off your armors and throw them away. Hold on to the light wood and warhorses you carry. Don't be washed away by the river." The river came so fast that the demons could not escape even if they wanted to. In the blink of an eye, the river swallowed the main force of the armor demon army. Tens of thousands of armor demons were wailing in the river. The water rose higher and higher. When it was more than 3 meters high, the armor demons had already passed. All the armor demons were not good at swimming. How could they survive? God damn it! Qian Feng stood awkwardly on the fast-flowing river, his face ashen. How did this happen? Lian Zhao's eyes were cold as he said, "Lin Muyu, that bastard. He purposely lured us to fight in wildfire plains. Marshal, we fell into his trap." Qian Feng's body trembled in pain. Suddenly, he spurted out a mouthful of blood. He was actually angered to the point of vomiting blood. He looked at the sky and murmured, "Your Majesty, Demon King, Qian Feng is useless. I have failed the divine race." As he spoke, Qian Feng had already unsheathed his sword and slashed towards his neck. Clang! The hilt of Lian Zhao's sword clamped down on his blade. "Marshal, you are the commander-in-chief of the 3 armies. You must not commit suicide. Don't forget. Lin Muyu has defeated us time and time again. We still have to rely on the marshal to avenge this humiliation. Victory and defeat are commonplace. I believe that His Majesty the Demon King would not be willing to see his most prized disciple die here." Qian Feng stood there absent-mindedly. Lian Xiao continued, "In this water attack, we only lost the Armored Demon Legion. We still have the high-level Demon Race Legion and the Winged Race Legion. We also have the Hui Legion in the water. We can still fight." "No, we can't." Qian Feng slowly shook his head. His eyes were filled with hatred. "Once our Armored Demon Legion is destroyed, the human army will immediately sweep in. We have lost our spirit and can no longer fight. Pass down my order. All the divine race armies are to gather at the east bank of Wildfire Plains. Send the winged cavalry to pass down my order to Lei Chong. Order his army to meet us 100 miles south of Five Valley City. We have lost our spirit and cannot continue to attack Five Valley City." Yes. The surging river turned the wildfire plains into a lake in the blink of an eye. Countless armor demons struggled in the water and drowned. On the contrary, almost all the people in the Longdan army camp survived. In the turbulent water, the crowd was washed to the south bank. The winged race originally wanted to shoot arrows from the sky, but they were shot dead by the Longdan army camp if they were too close. If they were too far away, the arrows would not be lethal, so they could only leave resentfully. The winged race were birds after all. Their wings were muscular and powerful, but their arms were thin and weak. They were far less powerful than the archers in the Longdan army camp, so their shooting range was naturally much lower. "Order everyone to stick together," Lin Muyu ordered. Everyone was pulled together in pairs. War horses were born to swim, and the barbarian race warriors were holding a thick light log that was enough to float their heads on the water. They floated to the south bank with the humans. Puff! Situ-san ruthlessly killed an armor demon that was struggling in the water. He sneered and said, "This is what happens to those who can't swim." Lin Muyu's eyes suddenly turned cold. The dense aura of the spiritual pulse technique was rapidly approaching. It was the blood demons. They had already swum into the waters of the wildfire plains. "Be careful. Go ashore quickly," Lin Muyu shouted. After handing Takshu to Wei Chou, she leaped forward with her sword. The pressure of the sacred region split the water surface. Immediately, many blood demons appeared in the water with weapons in their hands. They screamed and surrounded them. "Get lost!" Lin Muyu let out a low roar. Without hesitation, He activated the 6 glorious heavenly tribulation. The power of this technique was very powerful, and its range was also very wide. In an instant, the river water soared into the sky. Rays of blazing brilliant sun-dough lights tore the daimons to shreds. His sword flashed. Lin Muyu stepped on the river water, killing dozens of daimons. Very quickly, a thick layer of daimon corpses floated on the river water. With a sacred region cultivation, killing blood demons was like torturing vegetables. Perhaps it was because of Lin Muyu's display of power. The blood demons in the distance all showed timid expressions. They bent down and dived into the water, escaping without a trace. Lin Muyu heaved a sigh of relief. She felt the backlash of the 6 luminaries' heaven's calamity. Although it was not as strong as the 7 luminaries' heaven's calamity, it was still very uncomfortable. At this moment, suddenly, someone in the Longden army camp shouted, "Look, there's a person floating on the water surface. He's wearing the white royal robe armor." Ah! Everyone hurriedly looked over, only to see that person's surroundings were enshrouded in purple flames, as if it was a martial spirit protecting its master. His face floated on the water surface, looking like Feng Jixing, but he had already fainted. Big Brother Feng. Lin Muyu rushed over and picked up Feng Jixing from the water, only to see him frowning. The battle chi in his body was almost exhausted. If not for the high-grade violet electric flame wolf martial spirit protecting its master, Lin Muyu would have drowned long ago. Lin Muyu's heart was in a mess. She hurriedly carried Feng Jixing on her back and dashed towards the riverbank. Many soldiers from the Longdan army camp had already boarded the shore, and even more had already mounted their war horses to kill the demons who were trying to reach the shore. Huang Shi was also gathering the barbarian race warriors. After placing Feng Jixing on the grassland, Lin Muyu gently rotated her palm. The brilliant sun battle light seeped into Feng Jixing's body, awakening his Qi C and EC. Not long after, Feng Jixing slowly opened his eyes. Lin Muyu's handsome face came into view, and he couldn't help but smile. "You? Don't tell me we met in purgatory?" Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. "Is there such a beautiful scenery in purgatory?" "Big Brother Feng, look, we've succeeded." Feng Jixing sat up, only to see that the wildfire plain had turned into a river. On the water surface were densely packed corpses of armor demons, as well as the corpses of some high-grade demons who didn't know how to swim. For a moment, Feng Jixing was stunned, and after a few seconds, he suddenly laughed. "Ha ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha." Lin Muyu sat down on the grass and also laughed loudly. No one knew better than the two of them how difficult it was to win this victory. This battle meant that the vanguard of the demons that had infiltrated into the Empire's territory was defeated for the first time. They were about to retreat from Cangnan province, or else what awaited them would be a massacre by the humans. Not far away, Wei Chou flew over with a messenger bird and said, "Commander, I've received a letter from Princess Shi. Quickly bring it over." Taking out the letter, Tang Xiaoxi's elegant handwriting was written on the top. "Mu, I found Xiao Shi. She's fine under the protection of Chu, Zhang Wei and Xiang Yu. How's your side? We're still dealing with more than 10,000 armor demons in the dragon-seeking forest, but with Chu and Xiang Yu's ability, these 10,000 armor demons won't be able to do much. Please reply immediately after receiving Yu's letter." Lin Muyu immediately took out a pen from her bosom and wrote on the back of the letter, "In the Battle of the Wildfire Plain, Chen Feng's main force was almost wiped out, requesting Xiao Shi and Xiao Yin to assemble the army and start a counterattack. We must recapture Cangnan province in one fell swoop and drive the demons to the east of the steel wall." The messenger bird flapped its wings and flew away. Lin Muyu let out a sigh of relief. Finally, it's almost over. It's still far from over. Feng Jixing said, "Even though Chen Feng's main force is gone, Lei Chong's is still there. Lei Chong still has at least 100,000 armor demons." Lin Muyu smiled. "No matter if Lei Chong really dares to come, don't Big Brother Feng still have the Qian Kuan battle formation? Adding my cone shield spear cavalry camp and wild warriors, I believe there's a certain chance of victory. And according to my understanding of Qianfeng, he, as the first marshal of the demon race, will definitely not fight again after this battle. He's in a mess, and if he fights again, he'll only lose. I hope so. Qianfeng's army will retreat, then we'll have a chance to breathe. And, in the afternoon, a large number of iron hooves galloped over from the north of the wildfire plains. It was Feng Jixing's troops stationed in Lai City. Xiahou Sang personally led them to chase after the defeated demon race army. When Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing appeared in the forest, Xiahou Sang hurriedly dismounted and respectfully cupped his fists, saying, "Commander, Xiahou Sang has brought 50,000 troops, and they will listen to Lord Commander's orders." Feng Jixing nodded. "Everything's fine." Behind them, a beautiful young girl jumped off her horse and galloped over, jumping into Lin Muyu's arms. It was Chu Yao. Lin Muyu hugged this beautiful sister, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Feng Jixing touched his nose and didn't say anything. Chu Yao sobbed. You're fine. This is really great. I was so worried about you. Worried that you would die in battle like brother." "Don't worry." Lin Muyu patted Chu Yao's back and said, "We've won this battle. Big sister Chu Yao, your messenger bird Little White has done a great job." And then, Chu Yao wiped her tears and smiled. Chapter 444. South of the Dragon-Seeking Forest, Ji County. This was a small county with a population of less than 50,000. At night, the sky was filled with stars. A large contingent of the Empire's troops gathered at the open space in the north of the county. The lights from the tents were continuous, and the city of Ji County was also brightly lit. It was rare for the Empress to personally visit Ji County, and even the people of Ji County were very happy. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi stayed in the county magistrate's office, and Zhang Wei personally led the imperial guards to guard the perimeter. "Your Highness, these delicacies are the specialties of our Ji County. Look, this is our Ji County's most famous salt and pepper pork trotters. This is delicious chamois stew soup. And this is badger meat with longine vegetables. Please have a good taste, Your Highness and the Princess." The county magistrate bowed and introduced some of the delicacies. At the same time, he looked at the old man at the side and said, "Sir Chu Chu, you should have a taste too. After living in the dragon-seeking forest for so long, it must have been a long time since you had a good meal." Chu Chu nodded and said, "Her Highness and the Princess are having a meal. You may leave. I will call you if there is anything." "Yes." The magistrate bowed and left. Qin Yin slowly sat down with a joyous expression on her face. She took out that piece of paper from her bosom and looked at it again and again. The joy on her beautiful face became even more intense. Tang Xiaoxi, on the other hand, said in a bad mood, "This is already the 300th time you have read the letter since this afternoon." Qin Yin burst into laughter. "I am happy." Chu Chu also laughed. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing joined hands to drown the demon army in the wildfire plains and killed more than 60,000 armored demons. This is indeed an unprecedented achievement and changed the fate of the empire. It is worth celebrating. Your Highness, eat more. Tomorrow morning we will set off to Wugu City to meet up with you and Feng Jixing. We will regain the empire's territory. You must conserve your strength." "Yes." Qin Yin picked up her chopsticks and picked up a piece of muntjac meat and placed it on Tang Xiaoxi's plate. She said with a smile, "She should eat more too. Right now, I'm counting the most elite troops under your command. The task of recovering lost territory will still be handed over to you." Tang Xiaoxi glared at her and said, "Xiao Yin, we are so lovey-dovey. I wonder what Mu will think when she sees this." Qin Yin was as happy as a bird flying out of its cage. She couldn't help but joke with her good sister. "I don't know. Maybe brother Yu will be angry to death." Chu Chu remained silent, not saying a word. "All right, where did Marquis Pingnan Xiangyu go?" Qin Yin asked. Chu Chu cupped his fists and said, "Xiangyu led nearly 100,000 men out of the dragon-seeking forest yesterday morning and headed towards the direction of the steel wall. How many troops do we have now?" Chu thought for a while and said, Commander Suyu still controls nearly 100,000 soldiers from Muyu City. Princess Shi also has nearly 100,000. Together with Zhang Wei, Yao Yuan, and the others, we have nearly 240,000 soldiers. Many of them are new recruits recruited from various counties along the way. Their combat power is very average. The main force is the 50,000 demons and 45,000 Longden army camp under Princess Shi's command. Looks like we really need Xiao Shi to be the main force. Yes, I will. Tang Xiaoxi looked at the steaming dishes quietly and said, I think Mu thought the same when she lent me the main force of Longdan army camp. As they were eating, there was suddenly a noise outside. What's wrong? Qin Yin asked with a frown. Outside, Zhang Wei came in with his sword and cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, a group of armored demons appeared in the east of Ji County and attacked the city. There are about 20,000 of them. Commander Suyu is leading people to resist. Your Highness, please retreat immediately. Another 20,000 armored demons? Qin Yin suddenly stood up and said, What's going on? Isn't the main force of Qianfeng in Songnan province? Why did they appear in the territory of Tianshu province? I don't know either, but this demon army doesn't seem to be Qianfeng's people. There are a few 5-star demon grandmasters in charge. Commander Suyu, I'm afraid she won't be able to resist them soon. Qin Yin knew the fighting power of the armored demons very well. The arrow boxes and crossbows that accompanied Suyu had long been lost or destroyed. The city wall of Ji County was only 5 meters high and it was made of mud. Couldn't resist the attack of the armored demons. With the crazy fighting power of the armored demons, Suyu's 100,000 soldiers of Muyu City might not be able to resist the crazy attack of the armored demons even if they were all wiped out. No. Qin Yin took a deep breath, and the peaks on her chest rose and fell slightly. She said, Little Shi, Qi Long's Bile Battalion, come with me to battle. We can't let Aunt Ro resist the demons alone. Lord Chu, please come with me. There are 5-star demon grandmasters among the demons, and they need your strength. Chu cupped his fists and said, Yes, Your Highness. Under the starlight, the sound of horse hooves could be heard. They galloped to the east of Ji County. There, fire rose up to the sky. It seemed that Suyu had used fire to attack, but the effect was not very obvious. The piles of fire couldn't be gathered together. The armored demons crossed the wall of fire and slashed their weapons at the shield formation of the Muyu City's defenders. Block them. Don't retreat. In the crowd, a captaincy of Muyu City shouted loudly. But the price of blocking them was sacrifice. On the front line of the shield formation outside the city, groups of shield soldiers were harvested by the armored demons like harvesting wheat. In the dark of the night, the black armored demons came from afar. They all looked ferocious and horrible. By the time Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Chu, Zhang Wei, and the others arrived, many of the generals guarding the city had already noticed them. All of them had shocked expressions on their faces. His Highness is here. Her Highness is here. The crowd was excited, but it didn't seem to improve their fighting power much. Tang Xiaoxi gently waved her hand and said, Longdan Army Camp, prepare the white drill arrows to reduce the pressure on the Iron Blade Army. Yes, Your Highness. A group of Longdan Army Camp soldiers raised their bows and shot a round of arrows into the distance. The effect was obvious. Many armored demons fell to the ground, howling in pain. Unlike the arrow formation of the Iron Blade Army, the arrows could only bounce off the bodies of the armored demons and couldn't cause any real damage. Qin Yin dismounted from her horse and slowly walked forward. Her battle boots stepped into the blood as she slowly pulled out the Zine sword. With a shout, rays of golden light appeared around her and turned into the shape of a dragon. It was the second stage of the Dragon Slayer incantation, the Coiling Dragon Strike. With a buzz, the golden light transformed from the god-binding chains exploded in the night sky, blasting dozens of armored demons into pieces. The golden light soared into the sky, inspiring everyone's hearts. Long live Your Highness. Your Highness is so powerful. The Empire will win. The group of Empire soldiers cheered in unison, but this also seemed to attract the attention of some people in the demon battle formation. Behind the group of armor demons, there were a total of 5 black-robed old men sitting on war horses. Each of them had 5-star sect emblems pinned on their chests. They were all 5-star demon sect powerhouses. Among them, an old man with a long red beard laughed coldly and said, "The god-binding chains of the human martial soul. Heh, it's known as the martial soul of a king." Another old man said, "Elder Qi-ji, don't you want to meet this human empress?" Qi-ji smiled. "Elder Jin Huang, don't look down on humans. Qin-in is still wet behind the ears, so there's nothing to be afraid of. However, the fire cauldron Chu-Chu beside her is very powerful. He's a Saint Heaven Realm cultivator. I'm afraid you and I won't be able to stop him by ourselves." Jin Huang's eyes turned cold. "Let's cut to the chase. His Majesty the Demon King sent the 5 of us on a secret mission to coordinate with Marshal Qianfeng and find a chance to kill Qin-in. Now is a heaven-sent opportunity. How about this? Elder Xuanmi, Elder Zhoutan, and I will block Chu-Chu, while you and Elder Lanfu will kill Qin-in. How about it? You're the number 1 among the 15 elders appointed by His Majesty the Saint Emperor, and your cultivation is also the strongest among us. You're not afraid, are you? Ha 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 ha." Qi-ji couldn't help but laugh. "No need to provoke me. Let's go and kill Qin-in. Now is the time. Let's go together." Yes. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 5 figures soared into the sky. Although the 5-star demonic grandmasters couldn't fly, they could stay in the air for a short while. Stepping on the air, they created a blood-colored ripple with their grandmaster demonic energy and flew into the sky again. In a few leaps, they had charged into the battle formation of the Imperial Army. Qi-ji condensed a vortex in each of his palms and shouted, "Die! Qin-in! Not good." Tang Xiaoxi gritted her teeth, and flames burst out from her body as she suddenly entered the 9-tailed transformation state. Meanwhile, Qin-in flew in front of Tang Xiaoxi, and with a shake of her sword, 3 true dragon god-binding chains appeared in front of her chest, forming the radiance of the sacred dragon shield. Bang! Qi-ji waved his left palm, and the whirlpool within the vortex exploded on the sacred dragon shield. After all, there was a great disparity in strength. Qin-yin's delicate body trembled slightly, and the sacred dragon shield shattered. The god-binding chains turned into golden light and scattered on the ground. The shattering of her martial spirit also meant that her sea of energy had suffered a certain amount of damage. However, she was unwilling to continue being a coward. She forcefully activated her battle chi, and the 8 god-binding chains once again gathered on the blade of her sword. They lingered together, condensing into the shadow of a fiery red dragon, and whistled out. The 4th style of the Dragon Slayer incantation, Golden Dragon Flames. Qi-ji didn't know how strong this style was, but he could feel the biting cold energy coming from it. He didn't hesitate to raise his right palm and smash it down. Bang! The energy exploded, and the impact forced everyone in the surroundings to retreat. Not far away, Chu-Chu had already taken out his fire cauldron, and he was fighting with the 3 5-star demon grandmasters in the midst of the flames. His palm force created streaks of fire in the air, and the air seemed to be filled with master devil force, making it impossible for Chu-Chu to fully release his strength. The 3 5-star demon grandmasters rushed to help each other, and one advanced and one retreated to avoid the sharp edge of Chu-Chu's fiery palm. Within a short period of time, he was actually unable to kill or injure any of them. Buzz! Flames enshrouded her body, and the 9 flame tails behind Tang Xiaoxi danced lightly. There was a hint of hostility on her beautiful face. Suddenly, she leaped up and tangled with Elder Lanfu, and her palm was facing Lanfu's chest. Soul-suppressing seal. Boom! Lanfu could only use the Master Devil Force to protect his body, but he was still hit so hard that his chi and blood were surging. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Little girl, you are so powerful. I like you." The flames around Tang Xiaoxi's body spun rapidly, and a divine seal fell from the starry sky, and the cosmic star seal directly hit Lanfu's head. Good timing. Lan Fu raised his arm, and the master devil force surged out violently, forcefully blasting away the energy light of the cosmic star seal. However, when he looked down, he saw the smile on Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful face. Her little boots were wrapped in flames, and with a bang, she kicked Lan Fu's waist. It was the simplest attack without any special moves, but it was also the most effective one. The 5 major star demon grandmasters attacked together, and the armor demons seemed to be encouraged. One by one, they waved their spears and axes, and roared as they attacked Su Yu's army. The humans had already suffered heavy losses. Under the bright moonlight, the intense sound of horse hooves came from afar, and an old and familiar voice sounded, "God Might Battalion, flank them and kill them. Help Her Royal Highness." The moonlight illuminated the battle flag, which was embroidered with a golden flame. The God Might Battalion had appeared again. Chapter 445. The Divine Might Battalion was equipped with steel round shields and spears. Even their horses were clad in armor. Under the moonlight, the tips of the spears glowed with a white luster, as if they were made of refined white diamonds. Pift, pift, pift. The spears pierced into the bodies of the armor demons one after another. However, the armor demons had strong vitality. Unless their throats, hearts, or other vital organs were pierced, they wouldn't die. It didn't matter if the spears pierced their lungs or legs. The armor demons immediately pulled their spears off their horses and chopped them in half with a swing of their battle axes. The Divine Might Battalion quickly clashed with the armor demons. Although they didn't gain any advantage, they at least reduced the pressure on Su Yu's army. In the dark of the night, Zhang Yifan's aged face looked very weathered. He held the reins of his horse and slowly moved forward. Beside him, Sikong Nan, Gong Sun, and the other generals were guarding him. This old subject, Zhang Yifan, is late to the rescue. Zhang Yifan cupped his fists towards Qin Yin from afar with the crowd of armor demons between them. His attitude was extremely respectful. But how could Qin Yin say anything to him? Qi Ji's attacks became fiercer and fiercer, leaving Qin Yin with no way to defend herself. Every time she condensed her God-binding chains, it would be shattered. Her injuries piled on top of her injuries, and blood was already flowing from the corner of her mouth. Su Yu raised her sword and fought the armor demons in close combat. Her face was ashen. "Divine Marquis, is this the only reinforcement you have?" "It's not enough." Zhang Yifan smiled. "Don't worry, Commander Su Yu. The reinforcements will be here soon." "Ha!" Su Yu was confused. Bang! After shattering Qin Yin's sacred dragon shield once more, Qi Ji's arrogance intensified. He laughed heartily and said, "Is this all the human's strongest martial soul, the God-binding chains, has? How weak. In my opinion, this God-binding chain is just a leash for horses and dogs. What's so special about it?" Right at this moment, a ray of golden light suddenly illuminated the heavens and the earth, and then a voice that sounded like an oracle descended from the sky. "Who said that my Qin clan's God-binding shackles are a rope used to tie horses and dogs?" There was a silhouette in the sky. It was an old man in a black robe. He stood in the void, and his body was surrounded by the God-binding shackles. Although his face was old, his spirit was hale and hearty. He suddenly descended from the sky and opened his palm. The mighty God-binding shackles pierced down from the sky like a sharp sword. In an instant, his body disappeared. A crack in the void opened dozens of meters away from the ground. His figure flashed, and the light of the God-binding shackles blasted directly on Qi Ji's master devil force Gang Qi. Boom! With just one strike, Qi Ji spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated. His face was pale and his eyes were cold. "God! God!" The newcomer landed beside Qin Yin steadily. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he said, "Are you the one who said that the Qin clan's God-binding chains are trash?" I... Qi Ji gritted his teeth and suddenly shouted in a low voice, "Armor demons, kill him for me!" A group of armor demons immediately flapped their wings and flew up, pouncing directly on this God realm expert. but he just smiled and suddenly raised an arm. The mighty god force condensed on his arm and suddenly blasted out. In the air, a martial spirit of a soaring sword was condensed. Boom! Hundreds of armor demons were instantly turned into dust. How powerful was this? Qin was dumbfounded. You are. The old man turned to look at her with a face full of love. He said, "Little girl, I am your ancestor. My name is Qin Han, the 237th emperor of the Qin Empire." Qin Han. Qin was dumbfounded. She had heard this name before. But according to the historical records, didn't you already ascend to the heaven realm? How could the historian know my whereabouts? I have been cultivating in the far north snow region. You are Qin, right? Yes. Qin said respectfully. Qin greets ancestor. Qin Han smiled slightly. You are welcome. If Zhang Yifan did not find me, I would not know that the world has changed to such an extent. The Iha nation rebelled and the demon race invaded. Qin said urgently. Ancestor, save Xiaoxi and Lord Chu first. Okay. Not far away, Chu was already exhausted from the encirclement of 3 5-star Devil Sect disciples, while Tang Xiaoxi was evenly matched with another 5-star Devil Sect disciple, and it was impossible to determine the victor for a while. Chila, a ripple spread in the air. It was the trace of space tearing. The next moment, Qin Han was already hundreds of meters away in the sky. Golden God binding chains danced in his hands and bound Elder Jin Huang's body. 12 God binding chains surrounded him tightly. Jin Huang gritted his teeth and shouted, "You are just a lower celestial. Even if you kill me, the Demon King will avenge me." The Golden Brilliance Valley used all of his strength to resist Qin Han's God binding chains. Qin Han stood majestically in the wind. His aged face was filled with anger. He spread his fingers and slowly closed them, causing the God-binding chains to penetrate into Jin Huang's skin and muscles. Jin Huang kept screaming. His sea of qi was about to explode. His eyes were completely shrouded in blood-red light. The demon race was arrogant. That was why they called themselves the celestial race. Even if they met a real god, they would not surrender. Bang! Jin Huang's body suddenly exploded, turning into a rain of blood. Qin Han's eyes were cold. His forehead was dripping with sweat. He waved his sleeves and once again pierced through the plain. He held a golden sword in his right hand and slashed at the other 5-star demon grandmaster, Zhou Tan. Zhou Tan's arms shook. His fighting spirit was high. He roused the demon force in his body and roared, "Qi Ji, Xianmi, Lan Fu, leave quickly. I will hold him back. You must avenge me and Jin Huang." The long sword martial spirit splashed into stars. One of Zhou Tan's arms fell to the ground. He stood in the chaos with blood flowing. He looked up at Qin Han and suddenly laughed. "Old thing, you shouldn't have come out again. Do you know that? This will only bring about your death." Qin Han gritted his teeth and said, "You shameless scum who call yourselves the celestial race. You killed my people and seized my land. Today, I came out to wipe out your so-called celestial race." The domain of a god realm expert spread out. Immediately, Qin, Chu, Tang Xiaoxi, Qin Yan, and the others were forced to retreat. The ground cracked inch by inch. Qin Han looked at Zhou Tan indifferently. The domain pressure pressed on his sea of qi. Zhou Tan stood in the same place with blood flowing. He could only forcefully use the Grandmaster Devil Force to generate pressure to resist the opponent. But how could Zhou Tan be a match for a divine venerable? In the blink of an eye, all the blood vessels in his body burst one after another. Puff, 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 blood splattered. His sea of qi also slowly cracked. The last of his life force disappeared. Plop! Zhou Tan slowly knelt on the ground and fell. His life force turned into a demonic spirit bead and floated above his corpse. Tang Xiaoxi walked forward and collected Zhou Tan's and Jin Huang's demonic spirit bead. She handed it to Qin Yin and secretly laughed. "Wow! Xiao Yin, this ancestor of yours is really powerful." And yes, Qin Yin was also excited, but Zhang Wei and Chu Chu obviously had some doubts on their faces. Zhang Yifan appeared at this time and invited a divine venerable from the Qin family with dual martial spirits to come out. What was his intention? Qin Han's appearance might not be the fortune of the empire. It might bring about another disaster, right? Qi Ji ordered the troops to retreat. The armored demons also retreated. This battle was very tragic. The Muyu City army suffered heavy losses. Therefore, Su Yu did not order the pursuit. If the devil race wanted to leave, let them go. After all, even if they pursued, they might not be able to gain any benefits. After consecutively injuring a 5-star Devil Grandmaster and killing 2 5-star Devil Grandmasters, Qin Han's condition was not very good. His face was pale and full of sweat. It should be the result of overconsumption of divine power. Qin Yin walked forward and bowed respectfully. She said, "Ancestor, why don't you go back to Ji County and rest for a while?" Qin Han's cold gaze softened when he saw his descendant, Qin Yin. He smiled and said, "Little girl, I followed Zhang Yifan all the way here from the snowy region. I haven't eaten anything good in a long time. Can you treat your ancestor to a good meal?" Qin Yin could not help but smile. "I and Xiao Shi just ate not long ago. If ancestor doesn't mind, please add a pair of chopsticks." I don't mind. Qin Han stroked his beard and smiled. "I haven't eaten the Empire's food for a long time." Qin Yin looked at Su Yu and asked with concern, "Aunt Lan, are you all right?" Su Yu smiled. "I'm fine. Your Highness, accompany ancestor to eat. This subordinate will come and clean up the battlefield." Thank you, Aunt Lan." After returning to the magistrate office, Qin Han and Zhang Yifan sat down with wine glasses and chopsticks. There were now 5 people at the table. Without saying a word, he filled his cup and drank a cup. "This must be Fire Cauldron Chu Chu, right?" Qin Han looked at him. "Your humble servant Chu Chu greets, Emperor Qin Han," Chu Chu said respectfully. Qin Han smiled. "No need to stand on ceremony. I heard that you have been protecting Xiao Yin all this time. Thank you for your hard work. It is my honor to serve your highness." Chu Chu cupped his fists and a trace of doubt flashed through his eyes. He said, "Emperor, as the saying goes, a country cannot have 2 monarchs. I wonder if you—" Qin Han's eyes lit up and he couldn't help but smile. He stroked his beard and said, "Don't worry, Lord Chu Chu. If I, Qin Han, was greedy for power in the human world, why would I give up my position to cultivate? I only came out after hearing that the empire had fallen. I will ascend to the heavenly realm after wiping out the rebels of Iha country and the demons. The monarch of this empire will still be Xiao Yin, my granddaughter Xian Xian." Qin Yin was speechless. "Ancestor, this seniority is a bit unclear." "Haha, that's not important," Qin Han said casually. "In short, I have already treated you, Xiao Yin, as my granddaughter. You can call me ancestor or grandfather. It's up to you. I remember there is a heart-nurturing pavilion behind Zetian Palace. I will stay there after returning to Lanyan City. Call me if you need anything. Don't bother me with those trivial matters." Chu Chu also smiled. "I think your highness will definitely agree." Qin Yin smiled sweetly. "Then call me ancestor. Otherwise, the seniority will be messed up." "As you wish." At this moment, Qin Yin looked at Zhang Yifan and bowed respectfully. "Shenhou, thank you." Zhang Yifan was also stunned. He quickly left his seat and knelt down respectfully. "Zhang Yifan greets your highness." At the side, Qin Han only cared about eating. In the blink of an eye, he had finished a bowl of muntjac meat. Tang Xiaoxi was dumbfounded. A god-level master was indeed powerful at the dining table. Chapter 446. On the 2nd of May, Qin Yin personally led 300,000 troops out of Tianshu province and arrived at Wugu City. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing led Chu Yao, Wei Chou, Situ San, Su Jiantao, and 5,000 troops on the official road to welcome the Empress. When the Empress's carriage arrived, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing stepped forward, dismounted, and cupped their fists. I, Lin Muyu/Feng Jixing, pay my respects to your highness. Qin Yin had a charming smile on his face, jumped off his horse, and helped them up. Brother Yu, General Feng, both of you have worked hard. Both of you have contributed greatly in the battle at Wildfire Plains. When Xiao Yin returns to Lanyan City, I will reward both of you handsomely. Thank you, your highness. Lin Muyu raised his head and saw Zhang Yifan in the crowd. He couldn't help but frown. Zhang Yifan? Zhang Yifan urged his horse forward and said, Zhang Yifan pays my respects to Commander Yu. Commander Yu beat the demon army at their own game on Daojiang River. It was truly ingenious. I am very impressed. Lin Muyu didn't say much. He respectfully came in front of the supreme divinity, Qin Han, and said, I am Xiao Yin's sworn brother, Lin Muyu. Pay my respects to the ancestor. Qin Han looked at him with a smile and said, Lin Muyu, I heard that you also have God-binding chains? Release them. Let me see if your God-binding chains are pure, and if they're just for show. Yes. Lin Muyu took a step back and shouted. Immediately, 9 God-binding chains stood up around him and shone brightly. Qin Han was slightly startled. You have already stepped into the Saint region at such a young age. It seems that the Empire is indeed full of talents. Good lad, the power of the God-binding chains has been unleashed to the extreme by you. I am really impressed. What he meant by bringing it to its limits should be that each layer of the God-binding shackles had its own special ability. Lin Muyu withdrew her power and the golden martial spirit entered her body. She said respectfully, Thank you for your praise, ancestor. As Qin Han rode past, he gently placed his hand on Lin Muyu's shoulder and smiled. You're Xiao Yin's brother, so you're also my descendant. You don't have to be so polite. Let's enter the city. Thank you, ancestor. Lin Muyu turned around and looked at Qin Han's back in a daze. This supreme divinity didn't put on any airs at all, which was completely different from Luo Lan's arrogant aura. Even Lin Muyu's spiritual pulse technique couldn't sense the powerful aura and hostility from Qin Han. Could it be that everything was fake? At this moment, Tang Xiaoxi and Chu Chu came forward to talk about their parting feelings. Tang Xiaoxi immediately returned the 40,000 troops of the Longdan army camp to Lin Muyu. Although the battle was fierce, the Longdan army camp's troops were well preserved. The number of casualties was less than 5,000, which could be said to be a miracle. The Divine Might Battalion, which was led by Zhen Yifan, was stationed outside the city. In reality, all the military forces in the Five Valleys city were single-handedly arranged by Lin Muyu. It was impossible for him to allow the Divine Might Battalion to enter the city. Unknowingly, Zhen Yifan and Lin Muyu were walking side by side. Beside them was Zhen Feng, who had his hand on the hilt of his sword. After not seeing each other for a long time, Zhen Feng had also changed from that ignorant and frivolous youth to a much more mature and steady person. His face had lost some of its wildness, but had gained some weather-beaten calmness. I wonder where the divine overlords have been all these years? Lin Muyu asked. Zhang Yifan said faintly. They lived in seclusion in the northern jungle of Tianshu province. I only received news of the fall of Lanyan City more than a month later, so I didn't lead the Xinwei battalion out of the mountains. After that, I was instructed by an expert to go to the Wild Snow region in the north alone. After nearly 2 years, I finally found Emperor Qin Han, who was cultivating in seclusion. So, I returned to the empire with Emperor Qin Han to serve the empress. Lin Muyu was silent. She looked at the retreating road under the hooves of the horses and didn't know what to say. Zhang Yifan sighed and said, His Majesty Qin Jin was benevolent all his life, but in the end, he died in the hands of his own brother. The sad and lamentable. I, Zhang Yifan, have lived a sad life too. I only wanted to fight for the glory of my clan, but in the end, I was suspected by His Majesty. I had no choice but to leave Lanyan City. I originally planned to die of old age in the mountains, but I didn't expect the incident of Iha Nation to happen again. As he spoke, Zhang Yifan looked at Lin Muyu and said, Commander Yu, when the former emperor was still alive, I made things difficult for you. Do you still hate me? Lin Muyu shook her head and smiled bitterly. The empire has changed drastically, and the world has changed. How can I still hate you? Divine Overlord, you and I were once sworn enemies. Later, Brother Chu Huayin even destroyed Zheng Feng's Sea of Qi. Do you hate me? Zheng Yifan was stunned. Zheng Feng looked at Lin Muyu, and his eyes continued to show the vicissitudes of life. He said, Sister and Chu Huayin died together in Lanyan City. What else do I hate? Lin Muyu, you don't have to worry. This time, my father and I returned to Lanyan City just to support the empire. We won't make things difficult for anyone. That's good. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said, May we be of one heart and one mind, and support the empire of the Qin Empire in the future. Zhang Yifan and Zheng Feng cupped their fists together. Lin Muyu sighed inwardly. Nothing was absolute in the world. Time could wash away longing and worry, but it could also wash away hatred and pain. In the face of the passage of time, no one could be as unyielding as before. On the 14th of May, Su Yu, Xiang Yu, Lin Muyu, and Feng Jixing led 4 groups of people to drive the remnants of the demon army out of the empire's territory. They recovered the steel protective wall and repaired it. On the 29th of May, they returned to the imperial capital and were welcomed by the citizens. The next day, Zetian Palace Hall. Qin Han went to Yangxin Pavilion to meditate and cultivate. Just as he said, he wouldn't interfere in any court affairs. With Zhang Yifan's return, the situation of Tanglan and Su Muyun monopolizing the power was directly impacted. In terms of military strength, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi had more than 200,000 soldiers. Feng Jixing's imperial guards also had more than 50,000 soldiers. This also meant that Qin Yin's side had nearly 300,000 soldiers. After the Battle of the Steel Protective Wall, the total number of soldiers in Qihai Province and Yunzhong Province was only about 200,000. Both sides were almost equal. This was the first time Qin Yin felt that she had power in her hands. This was the first time she felt that she was a real empress. Qin Yin slowly sat on the throne. Her milky white maiden's robe outlined her perfect figure. She looked at Her Highness Lin Muyu gently and smiled. Lin Muyu also looked at her with love and longing in her eyes. Feng Jixing coughed. Don't be like this. What's with this kind of eye contact? Lin Muyu was slightly embarrassed. She lowered her head and touched her nose. Qin Yin's cultivation was about to step into the saint level. Her 5 senses were extraordinarily strong. Naturally, she could hear Feng Jixing's whispers. Instantly, her cheeks flushed red. She was incomparably beautiful. She said, Jingyue, read the imperial edict. Yes. The empress's chief female official, a woman called Shangguan Jingyue, walked forward. She held the golden imperial edict in her hand and said in a clear voice, In this decisive battle with the demon race, all the generals were loyal to their duties. They were fearless in the face of the powerful demon race army. It is gratifying. The commander of the Longdan army camp, Lin Muyu, saw through Sherman's tricks and seized the Five Valley City in a time of crisis. She also set up a brilliant plan to drown the demon race army in the wildfire plain and beheaded more than 60,000 armored demons. This is the greatest merit in this battle. She is specially awarded a golden order and is conferred the title of Marquis Yunling. She will be given the Five Valley City. The commander of the imperial army, Feng Jixing, set up the Chenkuan battle formation in the Unicorn Forest and killed more than 20,000 armored demons. She also assisted Lin Muyu in drowning the demon race army. She is specially awarded a golden order and is conferred the title of Marquis Yunzhong. She will be given the Divine Shadow City. Marquis Shenwei Zhang Yifan has protected the country. He will be reinstated and promoted to a rank 1 general. He will be reorganized and recruit the Shenwei Battalion. He will be established as the Shenwei Army and will be responsible for guarding the northern border. The rest of the generals will be rewarded according to their contributions. Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and Zhang Yifan stepped forward together and cupped their fists to express their gratitude. This battle had actually created 2 marquises for the empire. At this time, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing's titles and military positions were already on the same level as Zhang Yifan's. This was enough to show how much Qin Yin relied on them. On the contrary, none of the generals from Muyu City and Qihai City were conferred titles. Even Xiang Yu, who had made a lot of contributions, didn't receive any conferment. This inevitably made the two Grand Dukes somewhat unhappy. However, both Tang Lan and Su Muyun didn't say anything. They were well aware that the current Lanyan city had changed. Not only did Qin Yin have the support of Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and Zhang Yifan, but she also had the backing of the Divine Lord, Qin Han. Qin Han was an otherworldly expert who didn't covet power. He doted on Qin Yin as if she was his own granddaughter. At this time, whoever dared to challenge the Empress would only be looking for trouble. Moreover, after this battle, both Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing had their own fiefdoms. This further demonstrated Qin Yin's determination. After the court meeting was dismissed, Qin Yin asked Su Muyun to stay. There were only the two of them in the huge hall. Qin Yin walked down the steps and held Su Muyun's arm. She smiled and said, "Grandfather, don't be angry." During the decisive battle between the Steel Wall and the demons, the Muyu City's Iron Blade Army and Zither Dragon Army were very brave. I saw it with my own eyes. It's just that Brother Yu and General Feng made great contributions, so Xiao Yin conferred them the title of Marquis. Su Muyun raised his hand and gently rubbed Qin Yin's delicate face with the back of his hand. He said, "Grandfather Xiao Yin has grown up. I'm really happy for you. However, Divine Shadow City is the provincial capital of Tianshu Province. It was originally guarded by Su Long. I'm afraid that the morale of the Muyu City's army will change when Xiao Yin gives Divine Shadow City to Feng Jixing as his territory. That's why I need Grandfather to say a few words on behalf of Xiao Yin. After all, Su Long is Grandfather's general." Qin Yin blinked and said, "General Feng is good at war and has contributed greatly to the empire. He's incomparably loyal and brave. Grandfather has also seen it. Xiao Yin conferred Divine Shadow City to him to appease the people." "I know." Su Muyun thought for a moment and said, "Grandfather will return Divine Shadow City to Xiao Yin. After all, Xiao Yin has grown up. After I go back, I'll write a letter to Su Long and order him to lead the army out of Divine Shadow City. I'll give the city to Feng Jixing." "Good. Grandfather is the best." Chapter 447. Early in the morning, the lazy rays of the sun shone on the clean bedsheets. Lin Muyu slowly woke up from her dreams. She had slept soundly that night. After fighting with the demon race for almost a year, Lin Muyu had been constantly on the move and rarely had a chance to rest. She had never had the chance to have a good sleep like this. Dong dong. A guard's voice came from outside. "Chief Attendant, Commander Feng Jixing of Yunzhong Marquis requests an audience." "Yes, I understand. Let him in." "Yes." He hurriedly got up, put on a dark blue imperial uniform, and washed his face with water. While he was brushing his teeth, Feng Jixing had already pushed open the door and entered. Seeing the mountain of files on the chief attendant's desk, Feng Jixing couldn't help but laugh. "Sigh. Our Yu is fighting outside and dealing with these trivial matters inside. It's too tiring." Lin Muyu asked while brushing his teeth. "Big Brother Feng must have something important to talk to me about so early in the morning, right?" "Yes, let's talk after you're done washing up." "Okay." After washing up, he put on the white royal forest armor and tucked the helmet under his armpit. Smiling, "Okay, you can talk now. I'll bring you to see two people." "Oh? Who?" "You'll know when we get there." "Okay." They didn't even have the time to eat breakfast. The two young marquises of the empire rode their horses straight to Tongtian Street under the morning sun, all the way to the residence where the imperial army camp was located. Feng Jixing led him straight in, and a group of imperial soldiers respectfully knelt on one knee. "Greetings, Commander Feng, Commander Yu." In the depths of the compound, a group of imperial army soldiers stood guard, led by Zhang Wei himself. Beside him stood Luo Yu. "Luo Yu?" Lin Muyu was pleasantly surprised. You're all right? I thought you had died under the steel wall. Luo Yu smiled and cupped his fists. Thanks to Commander's blessings. This subordinate didn't die and even brought back 2 very important people of the demon race. Oh? Go in, they're inside. All right. Feng Jixing pushed open the door and walked in with Lin Muyu. Under the sunlight, the 2 girls with their hands tied were sitting side by side on a chair. They looked up at the 2 people who had just walked in, and their purple eyes were filled with panic and anger. Their mouths were stuffed with cloth, and they couldn't speak. They looked like they were in great pain. These 2 people are demons? Lin Muyu was stunned. She could already feel the power of the demon race from these 2 girls. Yes. Feng Jixing nodded and said, when the steel wall was about to break, I knew that we couldn't hold on for much longer. So I sent Luo Yu to lead 3,000 cavalrymen on a naval warship to take a roundabout route to the rear of the demon race to ambush their provisions camp. I didn't think that there would be such an unexpected harvest. These 2 are the daughters of the demon race's demon emperor, eldest princess Feng Jing-er and little princess Feng Ning-er. What do you think? Royal members of the demon race aren't bad looking, right? Luo Yu took them and wandered around the unicorn forest for nearly half a month, and only returned to Lanyan City after learning that the demon race had been defeated. Lin Muyu's gaze swept over them, and she couldn't help but smile. Feng Jing-er and Feng Ning-er's appearance could indeed be considered at the level of devastation, but the hostility in their eyes was slightly stronger, especially Feng Jing-er. Her purple eyes were filled with resentment, as if she would immediately kill Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing the moment the ropes were untied. Stepping forward, Lin Muyu reached out to pull the cloth out of the 2 demon race princesses' mouths, and was immediately greeted with a torrent of curses from Feng Jing-er. You despicable humans, using such a despicable method to bring us to this place? Just you wait, Father Emperor will definitely send troops to attack you, and kill all of you inferior creatures. Marshal Chen Feng and Marshal Lei Chong won't let you go. Just you wait and see. You ugly lowly race. At the side, Feng Ning-er's gaze was much gentler, and she said in a small voice, Sister, don't say any more. They really will kill us. Did you forget how vicious they were when they killed the guards? Don't argue. Feng Jixing walked forward, one hand holding Lin Muyu's shoulder, and pointed at her handsome face as he asked, touch your conscience and speak. Is this kind of appearance considered ugly in your demon race? Isn't he much more handsome than that idiot Lei Chong? Incomparably ugly, Feng Jing-er said angrily. Feng Ning-er's voice became slightly softer. Sister, actually this general, in our god race, his appearance is already considered first class. He is not inferior to Marshal Qianfeng. Feng Jing-er gritted her teeth. Ning-er, how can you speak for them? Humph, this kind of person is obviously a pretty boy. How can he be compared to a hero like Marshal Qianfeng? Feng Jixing smiled faintly and said, Your Highness Jing-er, the general next to me is called Lin Muyu, the commander of the 50,000 troops in the Longdan army camp of the Empire. It was also him who drowned the 60,000 armored demons in the wildfire field and defeated Qianfeng and made him flee in panic. Why? Do you think he is a pretty boy and is not worthy to be compared to Qianfeng? Feng Jing-er was stunned, and a trace of coldness flashed through her eyes. She looked at Lin Muyu and said, It's you? You defeated Marshal Qianfeng? Lin Muyu didn't deny it and said respectfully, Lin Muyu greets Your Highness Jing-er. Since Your Highness is now a prisoner of the Qin Empire, please control your temper. This is good for both of us. Don't talk about you like that. Feng Jixing grinned and raised his voice. You see, Big Brother Feng is still single. These 2 demon race princesses' looks and figures are also top-notch. Why don't we split them? The gentle little Princess Feng Ning-er will be yours. As for me, I'll suffer a loss. This fiery and passionate Feng Jing-er, I'll take it. Feng Jing-er panicked. You? Feng Jixing, you are the commander of the army of the human empire. You can't do such a dirty thing. Don't touch me. Feng Jixing put his hand on the hilt of his sword and smiled. Your Highness, don't panic. I will be very gentle. Lin Muyu smiled and crossed her arms in front of her chest, watching the show. Feng Jing'er was really panicking. Tears swirled in her eyes. Growing up in the capital of the demon clan, she had never seen such a scene. Moreover, it seemed that Feng Jixing was very serious. Feng Ning'er, on the other hand, was much calmer. Her beautiful eyes were covered with a layer of mist as she mumbled, "Sister, she already has someone she likes. 4 years ago, she was engaged to Marshal Qian Feng. Don't force her. If that's the case, let me, Feng Ning'er, marry this Commander Lin Muyu. Don't make things difficult for sister." Lin Muyu touched his nose. What a righteous Feng Ning'er. Feng Ning'er looked up at him and said, "Commander Yu, as long as you don't mind, Ning'er is willing to do anything for you. But sister, please let her go. Let her be with the person she loves. If Marshal Qianfeng loses her, he will be in so much pain that he will want to die." Lin Muyu said, "If Qianfeng kills himself because of losing Feng Jing'er, it will be the fortune of the empire and the human race." Feng Jixing laughed and didn't comment. Seeing Feng Ning'er's tears fall like rain, Lin Muyu couldn't bear to see her kneeling on the ground. "Your Highness Ning'er, don't cry. Big Brother Feng and I are human generals. We are not demons. We won't kill the innocent outside of war. We invited you and your Highness Ning'er here as a bargaining chip. Please understand." Feng Jixing also became serious. "Your Highnesses, Feng Jixing is not the kind of person to take advantage of others. I only said those words to remind you to control your temper. Although you are the princesses of the demon race, the Empire has declared war on the demon race. The princesses of the enemy country can only be hostages and no longer have any special rights. I hope you understand." "I understand." Feng Ning'er's tears rolled down her chin. What does the Qin Empire want to use me and sister for? I haven't thought about it yet." Feng Jixing thought for a moment and said, "But I think your Highnesses are the apple of the Demon King's eye. There shouldn't be a problem if we use you two in exchange for Lingdong province." Feng Ning'er started, "You want to threaten father? What's wrong with that?" Feng Jixing's eyes were cold as he pressed his hand on the hilt of his blade. "Don't forget, your father wants to destroy us humans. If such a strong enemy was in front of me, I wouldn't hesitate to cut off his head." Feng Ning'er was furious and looked like she was about to explode again. Feng Ning'er hurriedly stopped her. "Sister, don't say any more." As she spoke, Feng Ning'er looked up at Lin Muyu. "Commander Yu, you and General Feng are both famed generals of the Empire. I hope you can keep your promise and treat me and sister with respect." "Don't worry," Lin Muyu said lightly. "If you stay in Lanyan City, no one will do anything to you. Your Highnesses eat well and live well. Just wait for our news." "Thank you, Commander Yu." Lin Muyu nodded and looked at Feng Jixing, saying, "Brother Feng, come with me." "Okay." Outside the door, Lin Muyu frowned and said, "These two people are hot potatoes. The Demon King must be very worried. If there are no accidents, he will send peerless masters to Lanyan City to rescue them. He might even come in person. The Demon King. This name sounds very powerful. Lanyan City has a population of millions. It's easy for spies to sneak in. If someone really wants to rescue Feng Ning'er and Feng Jing'er, I'm afraid we won't be able to stop them." "I know." Feng Jixing smiled slightly. "Don't worry, you. We will send people to negotiate with the Demon King as soon as possible. We will discuss the bargaining chips and conditions. Moreover, it's useless to change back to Lingdong province." Lin Muyu said worriedly. "After all, Lingdong province is barren. Without the protection of steel walls and paddy rivers, the Demon King can easily take it back. Even if we take back Lingdong province now, it's just a piece of chicken ribs." "Well, we'll talk about this in the afternoon at the meeting of Zetian Palace." "Okay." Chapter 448. In the afternoon, the lazy sunlight fell into the Zetian Palace. reflecting the shadows of the stone pillars engraved with dragon patterns. There were only a few dozen people in the palace, but they were all important ministers of the empire. Qin seemed to have just finished cultivating. She was wearing a dark blue soft armor, but even so, her mature figure could not hide the leather armor. Her beautiful face was extremely enchanting. Her eyebrows were thin and curved, and her small nose was slightly upturned. Her face was as white as jade, and her complexion was as beautiful as the morning sun. On her chest, there was a golden-purple flower emblem that shone with a moving light. She sat quietly on the throne and said, "I heard that Commander Feng's subordinates have captured 2 demon race princesses?" "Yes." Feng Jixing cupped his fist and said, "Yes, they are the Demon King's 2 beloved daughters, the first Princess Feng Jing-er and the little Princess Feng Ning-er. According to the 2 high-level demon captives, these 2 princesses are the Demon King's most beloved children." Qin was slightly happy. "That's great." On the side, Su Muyun cupped his fist and said, "Your Highness, the Empire has just gone through a war and needs to recuperate for a period of time. Moreover, the repair of the steel wall and the river of Daojiang Basin also needs some time. These 2 demon princesses came at the right time. This old minister suggests that we use them to negotiate with the demon race and gain some breathing space for the Empire." "Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking." Qin nodded and smiled. Zhang Yifan squinted his eyes and said respectfully, "Your Highness, this old minister suggests that if we negotiate, we only return one of the princesses and keep the other one. This way, we can always have a hostage in our hands. If the demon race gets angry and forcefully attacks, then we can use the advantage of the steel wall to defeat them for a while. Then, the demon race can probably go down in the west." This general concurs. Feng Jixing cupped his fist and said, "The demon race has 2 big legions. The total number of armor demons is about 400,000. Over the past year, there have been many battles on Daojiang Basin. Moreover, the demon race attacked the Iha kingdom in Lingnan and fought with Long Qinlin's army. They also suffered heavy losses. Then, Commander, you killed 60,000 of them in the wildfire. The number of armor demons has been reduced from 400,000 to about 150,000. The current demon race is no longer as tyrannical as they were a year ago." "Yes." Qin smiled and said, "General Feng said it well. Sirs, who do you think we should send to negotiate with the devil race?" "It must be someone who knows how to speak," Tang Lan said. Zhen Yifan cupped his fists. "This old subject is willing to go to the devil race with my silver tongue." Qin was taken aback. The Divine Marquis has just returned to Lanyan City and is an important minister of the Empire. He can't be in danger. I'm just a bag of old bones. I don't know how much more I can do for the Empire. Zheng Yifan let out a sigh. His face was filled with the vicissitudes of life as he said, "I, Zheng Yifan, have been loyal to the Empire all my life. I wanted to make a great contribution so that I wouldn't bring disgrace to my name as a member of the Soaring Clouds Pavilion. Unfortunately, the late Emperor didn't trust me. This old subject has returned to the Empire now, hoping that I can do my best for your Highness before I die." Lin Muyu looked at Zhang Yifan. At this moment, Zhang Yifan was no longer the arrogant and domineering Divine Marquis. He was just an old man. Suddenly, Lin Muyu thought that he might just be Zhang Xiang's father, the father of the person Chu Huayin loved. Thus, Lin Muyu said respectfully, "Your Highness, I think that the Divine Marquis can go to the devil race. Whether it's prestige or strength, it's fine." Feng Jixing raised his head. "Yes, I think so too." Qin smiled. "Then, I'll have to trouble the Divine Marquis to go to Winterfrost City." "Yes, this old subject will not disappoint you." It wasn't until dusk when many matters of the Empire, big and small, were discussed. In fact, many of the matters were handled by the civil officials. Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Wei Chou, Situ San, and the other generals were drowsy. They glanced into the distance and saw the Marquis of Pingnan, Xiang Yu, standing there calmly with his head lowered. He was actually snoring softly. Damn. He's indeed the descendant of Xiang Wentian. Situ Sen grinned. Lin Muyu also held back her laughter. At this moment, the female official, Shangguan Jingyue, announced the end of the meeting. She walked straight forward and said with a smile, "Marquis of Yunling, Her Highness invites you to stay and discuss matters in the rear hall." Yes. Feng Jixing and the others naturally knew that the Empress had summoned Lin Muyu alone because of some matters related to romance. They touched their noses resentfully and agreed to go for a drink. In the blink of an eye, only Lin Muyu and Qin Yin were left in the main hall. Qin Yin smiled as she walked down the steps. She held Lin Muyu's hand and said, "Let's go. The ancestors have been waiting for us for a long time." "Ah, we are going to see the ancestors?" "Yes." Qin Yin smiled with her dimples and said, "Recently, I have been following Sir Chu Chu to practice the Dragon Slayer technique. The ancestors have been guiding my cultivation. Soon, Xiao Yin will definitely be able to step into the Saint Domain. The Saint Domain could preserve one's youthful appearance. This was a realm that all female practitioners had been dreaming of for a long time. It was to preserve one's appearance in their most beautiful years. Even though Qin Yin was the Empress, she was no exception. The heart-nurturing pavilion was located in the depths of the Zetian Palace Hall. It was the place where the emperors used to cultivate. The heart-nurturing pavilion wasn't big and was just a small pavilion. It had been burned down during the massacre of the Iha country. The heart-nurturing pavilion was rebuilt and even the blue paint was newly painted. Creak! Qin Yin gently pushed the door open. The setting sun shone into the pavilion. In the distance, Qin Han was sitting on a rattan chair. Divine power revolved around his body. He smiled and said, "You're here." Qin Yin nodded and smiled. "There were a lot of matters to discuss in the afternoon. Sorry for making the ancestors wait." "It's all right. Come here." When Lin Muyu and Qin Yin came closer, Qin Han slowly stood up. His eyes were shining brightly. He said, "Since ancient times, there weren't many people who possessed dual martial souls. But your dual martial souls are both first-class martial souls. It's really precious. The ancestors have nothing else to teach you. I only have one question. Do you know anything about martial soul fusion?" "Martial soul fusion?" Lin Muyu was stunned. She shook her head blankly. "Ancestor, I don't know anything." "I knew it." Qin Han slowly walked forward and said, "Come. I'll let you have a look." Then Qin Han shouted. Buzz! 12 God-binding chains broke out of his body. They glowed with a golden light. He then opened one hand and said, "Bahuang's sword, come out." The wind world and the divine power flowed rapidly. A golden sword slowly emerged from Qin Han's palm. He said leisurely, "This is my other martial soul, the first-class Bahuang sword." It awakened in his body the moment he stepped into the divine realm. Now, carefully feel the changes in the power of the two martial souls during the fusion process. "Yes, ancestor," Qin Han muttered. The God-binding chains began to circle around the Bahuang sword. The golden chains broke down inch by inch and seeped into the Bahuang sword. The Bahuang sword became even more dazzling. When the 12 God-binding chains turned into golden runes and flew around the Bahuang sword, the light almost rushed out of the pavilion. Lin Muyu was dumbfounded. With the spirit meridian art, he could clearly feel that when the God-binding chains merged with the 8 Desolation sword, the superposition of strength was not 11 is equal to 2, but it was a geometric increase. The 8 Desolation sword that had merged with the God-binding chain's Shen energy had increased its strength by at least 5 times. "Did you see it?" Qin Han had a faint smile on his face. He shook his palm and the Bahuang sword quickly entered his body. Lin Muyu nodded heavily. "I saw it. Martial souls can be fused like this. It's amazing. Ancestor, with your ability, can you kill Luolan?" "Luolan?" Qin Han couldn't help but laugh. "With my martial soul fusion, I'm afraid Luolan can't even take 10 moves from me." Qin Yin immediately knelt and said, "If that's the case, ancestor, please go to the Lingnen's 7-world palace and kill Luolan." "No." Qin Han took a deep breath and murmured, "Although I'm just a god from the lower realm, I have to abide by the laws of the heaven realm. Other than the battle of the God realm, any fight between gods is against the laws. I will be hunted down by the gods in the heaven realm. Battle of the God realm? That's right. The most recent battle of the God realm was 200 years ago. Emperor Qin Yi led the truth of the gods to the lower realm to hunt down the 7 luminaries demon emperor. Unfortunately, Qin Han shook his head and smiled. He failed. Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Qin Han looked at him with a smile. Kid, there's no need to be nervous. Although I can sense the 7 luminaries' mystic force of the 7 luminaries demon monarch in your body. You're a righteous person. You won't kill innocent people like the 7 luminaries demon monarch did. I've spent hundreds of years to learn the basics of martial soul fusion. I'll teach you if you're willing to learn it. After all, Xiaoyin still needs your strength to protect her kingdom. Thank you, ancestor. Lin Muyu said gratefully. Don't say so much. Sit down cross-legged. I will teach you martial soul fusion while teaching Xiaoyin how to cultivate the god-binding chains. Yes. Lin Muyu and Qin Yin sat side by side and slowly released their martial souls. Battle energy swirled around them. Just as Qin Han said, he could actually multitask. While teaching Lin Muyu martial soul fusion, he was also teaching Qin Yin how to increase the power of the god-binding chains. Martial soul fusion was divided into 4 realms: stopping war, cultivate in the Sea of Will, controlling 2 martial souls at the same time. Moreover, the martial souls do not conflict with each other. Origin. Cultivate the origin of the martial soul, making the 2 martial souls more familiar with each other. Fusion. Break down the 2 martial souls and fuse them into one. Obviously, Lin Muyu's martial soul cultivation was still far from that. Qin Han said that in the last battle of the divine realm, an expert at the 2nd level of the divine state fell into the mortal world and fought with him for 2 days and 2 nights in the snow region. In the end, he was killed by Qin Han. Dual martial souls naturally had an absolute advantage. As long as their martial soul fusion was strong, they could challenge those of a higher level. Battles between gods were not absolute. The first realm of martial soul fusion, stopping war, was concise and comprehensive. The 2 martial souls must not conflict with each other when operating in the Sea of Mind. Otherwise, the cultivation would not be considered complete. Lin Muyu and Qin Yin closed their eyes and quietly operated their martial arts. On the other hand, Qin Han sat on a chair and watched the 2 juniors cultivate. His eyes could not hide the kindness and love he had for them. This expert, who was known as the #1 genius of the empire for thousands of years, actually felt incomparably lonely after cultivating for thousands of years. He had encountered a huge obstacle on the road of cultivation. He could not be as heartless as the 7 luminaries demon emperor. Therefore, he could only rely on the familial love his 2 juniors gave him to continue cultivating and reach a higher realm. Chapter 449. Whoosh! Lin Muyu, who was wearing a white robe of the imperial forest, stood in the air and looked down at the boundless sea of consciousness. Under his control, the sea slowly separated and opened up a deeper space in the sea of consciousness. Lin Muyu dived down and flew all the way to the deeper part of the sea of consciousness. After flying for a long time, he smelled the scent of vines and flowers. It was the place where the 7 luminaries' celestial gourd grew. In a chaotic and empty high, there was a vine growing there with a golden gourd on top of it. It was the 7 luminaries' holy gourd. A martial spirit, as the name suggested, was a kind of soul power that grew in the soul. The 7 luminaries' holy gourd was rooted in the deepest part of Lin Muyu's Yi. This was the source of the gourd's power. Pata! Lin Muyu gently landed on the ground and walked toward the gourd vines. She reached out her hand and gently touched it. Immediately, a smooth feeling seeped into her body. The 7 luminaries' celestial gourd also felt its master's caress. It was happy as if it was acting coquettishly. As the breeze blew, the vines swayed gently. The golden gourd also swayed gently. The golden gourd was still young. After all, it was only a 9th-level martial spirit and had reached the peak of martial arts. Lin Muyu slowly let go of the gourd and walked in another direction. She could feel a strong metallic aura. That's right, the god-binding lock belonged to the metal element. Less than 100 meters away from where the 7 luminaries' celestial gourd was rooted, a small golden mountain stood. The mountain was slowly emitting a golden light, which clearly showed the origin of the god-binding lock martial soul. It was actually made from the spiritual energy of iron or extracted from rocks. No wonder the god-binding lock was called the most destructive martial soul in the world. Lin Muyu came to the foot of the mountain and pressed his hand on it. Suddenly, there was a joyful feeling from the god-binding lock martial spirit, and the golden light on the mountain became even brighter. Hello, god-binding lock martial spirit. Lin Muyu smiled. The golden light on the mountain became even stronger. This was the god-binding lock martial spirit's response, like a child's response to his father. Now we can begin. Lin Muyu slowly left the mountain and arrived between the god-binding chains and the mysterious 7 luminaries. She opened her hands at the same time and shouted in a low voice, "Come here now!" Buzz. The golden gourd on the calabash vine disappeared and reappeared in Lin Muyu's left hand. The golden light on the golden mountain also disappeared, and golden god-binding chains appeared in her right hand. Lin Muyu slowly moved her arms together, at the same time matchmaking the 2 martial souls peacefully coexisting. However, what Lin Muyu did not expect was that when her arms were about to come together, the god-binding chains suddenly became agitated. One of the ropes whipped the golden gourd's body, and the golden gourd's light shone brightly and condensed into a gourd wall. With a buzzing sound, the golden gourd's buttocks slammed heavily into the god-binding chains. It seemed to be very pleased with itself, as if it was saying, "I'll smash you to death, you idiot." Swoosh, swoosh. The god-binding chains' counterattack was even more domineering. The 9 god-binding chains struck the 7 luminaries' holy gourd from different directions. Golden light splashed everywhere. The 7 luminaries' holy gourd was also going all out. Suddenly, golden vines rose from the gourd and wrapped around the god-binding chains, spewing poison and thorns. Unfortunately, the god-binding chains were just a metal weapon with intelligence. They did not care at all. With a roar, the 7 luminaries' holy gourd gathered around the god-binding chains. F***ck. Lin Muyu could not help but curse in her mind. It was not without reason that her god-binding chains had been named by Chu Chu as the star-binding chains. Indeed, it had been perfectly integrated with the star arts. With a flash of light, the god-binding chains activated its skill, Initial Starlight. Amazing, the martial soul automatically used the master's skill. Who would have thought that the 7 luminaries' celestial gourd would not give in at all? After letting out a sharp cry, the light around the gourd grew brighter, and the celestial bodies of all living beings suddenly flew up and collided with the 7 luminaries' celestial body. Bang! The light in the depths of the Ehai exploded and a small mushroom cloud was formed. My goodness! The depths of the Ehai had become a battlefield. Soon the second move came. Star Chains vs 3 Luminaries Calamity. In reality, he would never be able to see this scene. After all, the star arts and the 7 luminaries' profound energy were both Lin Muyu's abilities. It was impossible for him to fight with his own hands. But now he could see it. Hiss hiss. The 7 luminaries' holy gourd let out a miserable cry and retreated quickly from the palm of his left hand. The god-binding chains in his right hand were full of fighting spirit and arrogance. The 9 golden chains twisted slowly as if they were provoking the opponent. Buzz! The 7 luminaries' holy gourd spun rapidly and opened its mouth, trying to absorb the god-binding chains. Moreover, a faint voice came from the golden gourd, similar to Lin Muyu's voice. God-binding chains, I'll call you an idiot. Do you dare to accept? Another Lin Muyu's voice came from the god-binding chains. Damn gourd, you're courting death. The starlight exploded and the god-binding chains used its ultimate move. 5 mountains descend from the heavens. The golden gourd was also surrounded by bright starlight. Countless stars gathered in the air and directly attacked the god-binding chains. 7 luminary stars transformation. Boom! The entire Ehai seemed to have exploded. The chaotic space was destroyed by the shockwave of the explosion. Not an inch of space was left untouched. Fortunately, this was a battle in the Ehai. If it was in the real world, the shockwave produced by the 7 glorious stars transformation against the 5 mountains descending from the heavens would be absolutely destructive. Whoa! In reality, Lin Muyu's brows were tightly knitted together. The light of her martial soul was faintly discernible. Suddenly, she spat out a mouthful of blood, but she remained seated on the spot, quietly trying to control and pacify her 2 martial souls. Qin Han looked at Lin Muyu and could not help but nod. His face was full of praise. This child's willpower and endurance were top-notch, and her comprehension was also very rare. When he looked at Qin Yin, his eyes were full of love. As a descendant of the Qin family, Qin Yin was already close to the peak of the heaven realm at such a young age. It was only a matter of time before she stepped into the saint realm. Also, this girl was the most beautiful and had the most natural temperament Qin Han had ever seen. When he thought of the women in the 9th generation of the Qin family, Qin Han could not help but shudder. He hurriedly shook his head. It was like a nightmare. No one would have thought that the bloodline of the founding emperor, Qin Yi, could give birth to such a tragic descendant. The divine power slowly circulated around Qin Han's body. He said leisurely, "Ayu, don't worry, the power of the martial spirits is very limited. When the 2 martial spirits are exhausted, you can use the method I taught you to make them adapt to each other and trust each other." Okay. In Ehai, Lin Muyu could hear Qin Han's voice. She lowered her head and continued to endure the great pain as she watched the 2 martial souls play with their lives in Ehai. Admittedly, when a martial soul was with its master for a long time, it would also be affected by its master's habits. The starry god binding chains and the 7 luminary celestial gourd were very good at playing with their lives, making Lin Muyu feel like dying. Finally, after an unknown amount of time, the 2 martial souls were almost completely drained of energy. They lay on the ground on the verge of death. The golden gourd's light was very dim, and the god-binding chains were also limp. At this time, Lin Muyu suddenly raised her arms and smiled. "Are you 2 done? It's my turn now." The 2 martial souls trembled at the same time. They did not know what their master wanted to do. Lin Muyu waved her iron fist and said indifferently, "Now, the 2 of you will attack me together. If you can't beat me, you will be beaten up. Understand?" The 7 luminaries' celestial gourd suddenly emitted a bright light and moved away from the god-binding chains, as if it did not want to be on the same side. Lin Muyu immediately flew forward and punched the golden gourd to the ground. She lifted her battle boots and kicked wildly. Then, she turned around and condensed the starry chain, forcibly pulling the god-binding chains over. She raised her fist and smashed it on the ground. She then stepped on the god-binding chains and the 7 luminaries' celestial gourd. She kicked and kicked fiercely. She felt pain as she hit them. After all, the source of her martial soul was her own spiritual power. Therefore, a very funny scene appeared in Lin Muyu's Ehai. Her master pressed the 2 martial souls into the depths of her Ehai and beat them up. She cried in pain as she hit them. After beating them up for a long time, the 7 luminaries' celestial gourd and the god-binding chains finally decided to fight back. They activated their abilities at the same time. The first appearance of starlight and the chaos of the common people attacked Lin Muyu's spiritual body in the Ehai. "You're thinking too much." Lin Muyu suddenly spun his iron fist and punched out with the demonic sonic fist. His main body strength was obviously stronger than his martial souls. He broke the first appearance of starlight and the chaos of the common people with one punch. Then he pressed them down and beat them up again. After a long time, the 2 martial souls recovered a bit of strength. They didn't want to admit defeat and came to beat their master again. Then, they were immediately beaten up by Lin Muyu. However, although the 2 martial souls attacked together, they didn't cooperate with each other. They fought separately and were beaten up badly by Lin Muyu. It seemed like the fusion couldn't be completed in a day or 2. She had to take it slow. The god-binding chains and the 7 luminaries' celestial gourd were both sharp martial souls. Their pride couldn't be blasphemed. It was true that it couldn't be completed in a day or two to fuse them together. The morning light shone into the pavilion, and Lin Muyu spat out another mouthful of blood. He had almost no strength left in his body, and his spiritual sense was empty. It was as if his 2 martial souls had been crippled. He slowly opened his eyes and shook his head. "Ancestor, I've reached my limit." Qin Han smiled. "Not bad. Go back and have a good sleep. I'll come back tonight. I'll continue teaching you and Xiao Yin." "Yes." Qin Yin slowly opened her eyes. After a night of cultivation, her eyes were filled with vigor. It was obvious that her cultivation had improved a lot. However, when she saw Lin Muyu's miserable appearance, she said, "Big brother you, how did you become like this?" Lin Muyu clutched his chest and said, "This is the price of cultivating martial soul fusion. Xiaoyin, help me up. I'm out of strength." "All right." Qinin quickly put his arm on her shoulder and supported Lin Muyu's body. She couldn't help but laugh. "Poor fellow, you can sleep in the Phoenix Perching Hall today. You can come here at night to cultivate. And all right, just send someone to the sacred temple to inform them. N. Chapter 450. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Lin Muyu's cultivation was progressing step by step. She had already cultivated the first realm of the martial soul fusion to the point where the 2 martial souls could fuse together, and the repulsion between them was no longer as intense as before. Qin Yin's cultivation was also increasing day by day under Qin Han's guidance, and she was getting closer and closer to a breakthrough. In the afternoon, the lazy sunlight shone on the side hall of the Zetian Palace. It was summer, and Qin Yin was wearing a long dress. Her long hair fell to the side of her right shoulder, and it was as beautiful as a black waterfall. She slowly spread out the 2 scrolls, and raised her head to look at Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and the others. Her gaze was gentle, as if it could melt a pool of autumn water, and she smiled faintly. "These are the 2 propositions that I plan to implement in the country, the system of prefectures and the distribution of martial arts. General Feng, Commander Yu, Marquis Zhang, take a look." It was unknown when she stopped calling Lin Muyu Big Brother Yu, but Commander Yu during the meeting. It seemed that the female official Shangguan Jingyue's reminder was quite effective. "Prefectures and prefectures?" Zhang Yifan asked after being startled. "Yes." Qin Yin nodded lightly, opened the scrolls, and placed them on the table in front of Zhang Yifan. She said, "Previously, the empire implemented a provincial system, and all military and political affairs were under the control of the provincial governors. This greatly restricted the imperial capital's control over the major provinces, so I plan to implement the prefectures and prefecture system. Every 10 to 20 prefectures and counties will form a prefectural prefecture, and a prefectural administrator will be appointed to take charge of political affairs. Every year, taxes will no longer be sent to the imperial capital from the provinces, but will be directly sent to the imperial capital by the prefectural administrator." Feng Jixing pondered for a moment and said with a smile, "In this way, I'm afraid that the taxes and food collected from the 7 Seas Province, Cloud Province, and Heaven's Pivot Province will increase by at least 3 to 5 times. Lin Muyu said, "I'm afraid that once this prefectural system is announced, the provincial governors will be indignant, especially the feudal lords like Duke Yun and Duke Lan. So, I plan to confer the titles of 2 Grand Dukes again." Zhang Yifan stroked his white beard and said with a faint smile, "In the empire's more than 7,000 years of history, no one has proposed the idea of prefectures and prefectures. Your Highness, I'm really surprised. Although the implementation of prefectures and prefectures is very difficult, but once it is implemented, the imperial capital and Your Highness will benefit greatly. However, what of the empire?" Zhang Yifan stroked his white beard and smiled faintly. "In the 7,000 years of the empire's history, no one has ever proposed the idea of a prefectural system. Your Highness has indeed surprised this old official. Although it may be very difficult to implement a prefectural system, once it is implemented throughout the country, the imperial capital and Your Highness will benefit endlessly. However, the current political problems of the empire will be solved through the prefectural system, but what about the military? Your Highness, you should know that the main forces of each province are still in the hands of the governors. Qin Yin opened another scroll and said with a smile, "This is the origin of the world subjugation of martial arts strategy. This world subjugation of martial arts strategy will be implemented together with the prefectural system. The salaries of all Holy Temple staff in the empire will be doubled, and the Holy Temple will be encouraged to recruit people with extraordinary combat power to form an army. The deacons of each Holy Temple can decide the number of Holy Temple troops according to the size of the Holy Temple. The upper limit of the Holy Temple troops in a province is 20,000 people. The upper limit of the Holy Temple troops in a prefecture is 5,000 people. The upper limit of the Holy Temple troops in a county is 500 people. And the upper limit of the Holy Temple troops in a village is 50 people. All the weapons, provisions, and salaries that the Holy Temple needs will be directly provided by each county. Moreover, all the deacons of the Holy Temple in a county must go to the imperial capital once a year to have an audience with the Grand Deacon." "Oh my God!" Feng Jixing was startled. He looked at Qin Yin in astonishment, and then looked at Lin Muyu and said, "Your Highness, are you going to hand over the future command of the empire to you? This brat has been visiting the two princesses of the devil race quite often recently." "Ah!" Qin Yin looked at Lin Muyu, and she pouted. "Is it true? Commander Yu." Lin Muyu touched her nose awkwardly. "Don't listen to General Feng's lies. I'm just doing my job." "Humph." Qin Yin glared at her angrily. Beside her, Shangguan Jingyue, Qin Yin's chief maid, smiled and reminded, "Your Highness, let's get down to business. Don't be jealous. Divine Marquis and the other lords are waiting for you to speak." Qin Yin looked up and saw at least 20 trusted ministers sitting at the table, and they were all looking at her. She couldn't help but blush. She lowered her head and calmed down, then raised her face again, and continued in a serious tone. "The prefectural system and the World Martial Proclamation will be implemented in all the provinces of the empire at the same time, so we need everyone's strength. The selection of the deacons of the Divine Palace will have to be done by Commander Yu. Remember, you must be swift and decisive." These two national strategies are the first political and military strategies I've implemented since I ascended the throne. No one is allowed to interfere, or they will be committing the crime of deceiving the emperor. "Oh, did you go visit the two demon princesses?" After all, she was only a 24-year-old woman who had just transformed from a girl to an empress. She still couldn't get over the emotional barrier. Qin Yan, Wei Chou, and the others laughed loudly. Zhang Wei said, "Commander Yu, just confess. Otherwise, if Her Highness keeps getting jealous, I'm afraid this meeting won't be able to continue." Lin Muyu immediately stood up, cupped her fists, and said, "Reporting to Your Highness, I went to visit the two demon princesses to learn more about the situation of the demon race from their mouths. We know almost nothing about the demon race's population, military strength, supplies, and so on. Moreover, the armor demons don't have intelligence, and the captured high demon race is silent, so the information from the two demon princesses is the most reliable." Feng Jixing added oil to the fire and said with a smile, "Reporting to Your Highness, the little demon princess Feng Ning seems to like you very much." "Ah!" Qin Yin was even more unhappy. She sat there in a daze, and her heart was in a mess. She asked, "General Feng, I haven't seen that Feng Ning before. Is she especially young and beautiful?" Feng Jixing said, "Yes, she can be said to be exceptionally beautiful." Qin Yin felt very uncomfortable in her heart for a moment, and her chest felt stuffy. However, as an empress, this meeting still had to continue. However, with her heart in a mess, how could she continue? Looking at the incoherent and bewildered Qin Yin, Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel distressed and fond of her. She stood up again, cupped her fists, and said, "Your Highness, although Feng Ning is young, beautiful, gentle, and dignified, she is still too young and inexperienced. I don't like her. Your Highness, please rest assured and continue the meeting. Everyone is waiting. Tomorrow, there is no meeting tomorrow. I will accompany you to Tongtian Street to eat delicious food. Qin Yin immediately felt much more at ease, and her heart was beating wildly. She looked at the crowd seriously and continued, Then let's continue the meeting. As for the details of the prefectural system and the distribution of military force, we will discuss them here one by one. Then I will order the Ministry of Revenue and the Ministry of War to issue the imperial edict to the world together. Yes. After the meeting, all the details had been settled. What they needed to do next was to wait for the people to submit to them. It must be said that these two political strategies of Qin Yin's had come at the right time and were sufficiently decisive. If not for this, the world would probably forever be in the hands of the generals at the borders who held the military power. As the Empress, Qin Yin did not have much decision-making power at all. Moreover, reappointing Tang Lan and Su Muyun as dukes was in itself a form of taking a step back in order to advance. The two dukes would probably not have much to say about it. More importantly, Qin Yin now had the support of three important subjects: Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and Jin Yifan. In addition, there was also the divine-level expert Qin Han in the heart-nurturing pavilion. This former great empress of the empire was like a mountain sitting behind the Zhe Tian Palace, making it impossible for Tang Lan and Su Muyun to face him directly, let alone try to influence Qin Yin's every move. With the passage of time, Qin Yin was no longer the Qin Yin from 3 years ago. Moreover, as the military power in the hands of Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing increased day by day, it was destined that the two dukes' control over the empire would continue to weaken. This was something that Tang Lan and Su Muyun were unable to change even if they wanted to. After the banquet, Lin Muyu rode takshu and left the Zhe Tian Palace alone. She bought a basket of one-bite pastry from an old shop on Tongtian Street. This pastry was fragrant and sweet when it entered the mouth. It had a fresh osmanthus fragrance and was exquisitely made. It was a delicacy that the demon race's fairy capital did not have. At the same time, it was also something that the two demon race princesses, Feng Jing-er and Feng Ning-er, rarely ate. When Lin Muyu walked into the courtyard with the basket, a group of imperial guards knelt on one knee on both sides of the road. Greetings, Commander Yu. No need for formalities. Rise. Lin Muyu pushed the door open and entered. Under the candlelight, the two demon race princesses were pouting in a daze. When they saw Lin Muyu enter, Feng Ning-er seemed a little excited. She jumped up from her chair and greeted, Commander Yu, you're here. Greetings, Your Highnesses. Lin Muyu bowed and offered the pastry. Then, she sat down on a guest chair at the side and said, Princess Jing-er will be returning to the fairy capital soon. Are you very happy? Feng Jing-er looked at her coldly and said, You guys are so despicable. You insist on leaving Ning-er alone in the capital. Humph. Lin Muyu was a little embarrassed. This can't be helped. This is war and politics. Once Princess Ning-er leaves the kingdom, I'm afraid the two demon race marshals will plot to attack our territory again. You have to take good care of Ning-er, Feng Jing-er said softly. Don't worry. Brother Feng and I will take good care of Princess Ning-er. No one can bully her here. After a while, when the time is right, I will bring her out to get some fresh air. That would be for the best. Lin Muyu smiled and said, All right, let's talk about the demon race. The divine race, not the demon race. All right, then let's talk about the divine race. Lin Muyu continued, I know that the god race is the same as us. They respect martial prowess, so the ranks of the higher demon races are also divided according to their strength. However, I don't understand why some of the 5-star demon sects are very powerful, while some can't even withstand a single blow. Humph. Feng Jing-er sneered. Those who have Grandmaster Demon Force are called 5-star Demon Masters. Above them, no matter how strong they are still 5-star Demon Masters. Father, Saint Master, and Chen Feng are all 5-star Demon Masters, but their strength far surpasses the 15 Elders. Lian Hai, whom you defeated in 5 Valley City, was the weakest of the 15. How dare you be so proud of yourself? What a joke. Is that so? Lin Muyu wasn't angry and continued to ask, how are the Demon King and Saint Master's strength compared to Qianfeng's? Feng Jing looked at him quietly and said, I don't want to tell you. Chapter 451. Don't worry, His Highness will tell me. Lin Muyu focused on Feng Ning-er. Feng Ning-er was only 16 or 17 years old, so she didn't know much. She said innocently, I've never seen Father and the Sage Master fight, but Qian Feng and Lei Chong are so powerful, yet they are still so respectful to them. I think Father and the Sage Master must be more powerful than the two marshals. Oh? Lin Muyu pursed her lips and said, what is the population of the celestial race? How many cities do you have in Heaven's Gorge? We only have one city, which is the celestial capital. The rest are scattered villages and small towns. As for the total population, I'm not too sure because there are many branches of the Nephilim race, but there are only tens of thousands of true high-level celestials. Tens of thousands! Lin Muyu was stunned and continued to ask, the armor demons are the main force of the demon race. I heard from the captives that they are tamed. I want to ask, how do the celestial race tame them? How many are there in Shendu now? The armor demons have a huge appetite. Can the food in Heaven's Gorge really satisfy the needs of hundreds of thousands of armor demons? Well, Feng Ning picked up a cake and said, actually, the armor demons are created. Created? Lin Muyu was even more shocked. At this time, Feng Jing-er's voice was very strict. Ning-er, shut up. You can't tell anyone about the armor demons and the winged race. If you tell the humans, it's the same as betraying the celestial race and father. Do you really want to be an unfilial daughter? Feng Ning-er was startled. Tears of grievance swirled in her eyes. Okay, sister. Ning-er won't say anything. Feng Jing-er felt a little distressed and said softly, Ning-er, there are some things that cannot be said, even if the other party looks like a good person. She looked up at Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu smiled awkwardly. Indeed, she was not a good person in the eyes of the demon race. She was more like a war weapon of the human empire, the demon god of death. All right then. If your Highness Ning-er doesn't want to tell me, then I won't ask. Lin Muyu stood up and cupped her fists. There are still many things that I need to deal with in the sanctum. I will return now. Rest well, your Highnesses. I will come to see you again. Good night, Commander Yu, Feng Ning-er said. Lin Muyu frowned and turned to leave. Late at night, the deacon's office was quiet. Lin Muyu sat cross-legged on the bed, his spiritual sense slowly seeping into his EC, flying towards the depths of the EC. Not long after, he arrived at the chaotic space. In the distance, a 7 luminaries celestial gourd and a god-binding lock quietly lay in the depths of the EC. After he floated down, he called out, Sons, Father is back! Immediately, the 7 luminaries celestial gourd and god-binding lock transmitted a sense of joy. Lin Muyu slowly opened his hands, condensing the god-binding lock and the 7 luminaries celestial gourd in his palms at the same time. This time, the rejection between the two martial spirits was almost completely gone. Lin Muyu closed his eyes and used his heart to feel the joy and sorrow of the two martial spirits. Using the method taught by Qin Han, he slowly closed his arms together. Buzz buzz. The 7 luminaries celestial gourd rotated slowly, and the god-binding lock hovered around the gourd, shining with golden light. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. Finally, the two martial spirits could completely coexist. Even though Lin Muyu provoked them with his thoughts, the 7 luminaries celestial gourd and god-binding lock still coexisted peacefully, as if they were good brothers. It's done. He raised his eyebrows and laughed. It had been half a month, and he had finally cultivated the first realm of martial spirit fusion. Next was the second realm, origin. The so-called origin was actually to return to its original state, to cultivate the martial spirit to its most original state. Of course, it was not an easy process, and it needed to be realized one step at a time. Sitting in the depths of the Yi with his spiritual consciousness, Lin Muyu secretly operated the technique, and suddenly, rays of brilliant light flowed around him. The 7 luminaries' celestial gourd and the God-binding lock surrounded their master on both sides, and they seemed to be enjoying themselves under the protection of their master's spiritual consciousness. Lin Muyu closed his eyes, and his spiritual consciousness entered the 7 luminaries' celestial gourd again. Following the vines and veins, he could feel the surging 7 luminaries' Shen energy in the 7 luminaries' celestial gourd, and he could feel its strong vitality. Time and time again, the 7 luminaries' celestial gourd's powerful strength was also constantly being reshaped, and finally, it jumped from the 10th grade to the 1st grade. Under the baptism of his master's power, the 7 luminaries' celestial gourd gradually returned to its original state. After a few hours, the golden light on the outer layer of the gourd dimmed a lot, and the leaves of the gourd had also shrunk a lot, and there were even wilted flowers at the bottom of the gourd. At the same time, the God-binding lock was also changing, and the strong metal body shrank a lot, and there was a lot of limestone material in it. At this time, Lin Muyu was a little excited. She had probably forgotten what the original state of the 2 martial spirits was, and the second realm was to let the 2 martial spirits see their original state, which meant that the 2 people had to be honest with each other, and then they could be together. Now that she thought about it, Qin Han really put a lot of effort into creating martial spirit fusion. In the middle of the night, Do Qi revolved around his body, and the youngest temple deacon in history continued to train. Lin Muyu knew that she had to cultivate, and she had to pursue a higher and stronger power, or she would not be able to survive in this world, let alone protect the people she cared about. Chen Feng and Lei Chong were already people she couldn't handle at the moment, and according to Feng Ning the Demon Emperor and the Saint Master were stronger than Chen Feng. With such strong opponents, if she didn't cultivate well, she was destined to be killed. After all, she was the great deacon of the empire, and the commander of the 50,000 soldiers in the Longden army camp, and the demon race wanted to kill her just like the empire wanted to kill Chen Feng. Early in the morning, the roosters in the backyard of the divine hall began to crow, and Lin Muyu slowly woke up from her cultivation. Her spiritual sense seeped into the depths of her Yi to cultivate, and it was a kind of sleeping state, so she had already rested and stored up her energy. There was nothing important today, and other than cultivating, she would accompany Qin Yin. After washing up, she put on her armor, and when she came to the main hall of the divine hall, she found Guyang holding a scroll in his hand, teaching the art of beast taming to the people of the beast taming department. The main altar of the divine hall first taught dozens of people the basics of the art of beast taming, and then the rest would learn it one by one. This was also Lin Muyu's intention. When the group of instructors and sparring partners saw Lin Muyu, they immediately cupped their fists respectfully and said, "Greetings, great deacon." Lin Muyu waved her hand and said with a smile, "Everyone has worked hard. Please continue to cultivate. I'm going out. Farewell, great deacon." This kind of respect was too much for a carefree person like Lin Muyu to bear. In fact, he had the personality of a ranger, but now he had to endure so many restrictions. If it wasn't because the empire needed his reputation and strength, and Qin Yin needed him to wield military power, he would have long resigned from his position as the great deacon of the divine hall. To roam the pugilistic world and live a carefree life, this was the real life for Lin Muyu. In Zhe Tian Palace Hall, Qin Yin had been waiting for a long time. Today, she was wearing a beautiful dark blue dress and an exquisite cloak. Inside the cloak, there was a golden-purple flower emblem. This kind of attire was the standard for a noble lady in Lanyan City, so others couldn't tell that she was the empress, and at most, they would think that she was a noble lady. "Let's go." After Lin Muyu arrived, Qin Yin temporarily handed over the affairs of Zhe Tian Palace Hall to Shangguan Jingyue. She led her mount and galloped out of Zhe Tian Palace Hall with Lin Muyu. Along the way, no one stopped them. With Lin Muyu as the Empress's bodyguard, no one in Lanyan City could hurt her. Therefore, Zhang Wei and the rest let them pass and even gave Lin Muyu a VIP card for the most luxurious restaurant in the empire. Their intentions were self-evident. Lin Muyu immediately felt that Zhang Wei was too impure, while Qin smiled without saying a word. It was unknown whether she didn't understand or was pretending not to. Brother Yu, let's go to the Chamber of Commerce first. Qin pursed her red lips and said, My ancestor said that I can already step into the Saint region, but I need a spirit stone that is more than 10,000 years old as a catalyst. Therefore, I want to buy a spirit stone. Okay. When they arrived at the Xin Flower Chamber of Commerce, they found Jin Xiaotang. Jin Xiaotang didn't recognize her at first, but when she recognized that it was the Empress, she was really shocked. She hurriedly bowed and said, Greetings, Your Highness. Qin quickly helped her up and said with a smile, You don't have to be so polite. I'm traveling in disguise. Xiaotang, don't expose my identity. Yes, Your Highness. Jin Xiaotang stuck out her tongue and smiled. Lin Muyu then said, Your Highness needs a spirit stone that is more than 10,000 years old to advance. Does the Xin Flower Chamber of Commerce have it? No. Jin Xiaotang said apologetically. Recently, the Empire has been at war with the Devil Race, so the spirit stones that we can receive are very few. The best spirit stone that we have at the Xin Flower Chamber of Commerce is more than 9,000 years old. However, I know that our competitor, the Dragon Search Chamber of Commerce, has purchased a few spirit stones that are more than 10,000 years old from the Lingnan Iha Nation. How about I bring you over to have a look? Perhaps you can buy it. All right. Lin Muyu nodded. The Dragon Search Chamber of Commerce was run by Pan Dingtian, and the real owner was the Tang sect of the Seven Seas. Originally, the Dragon Search Chamber of Commerce and the Xin Flower Chamber of Commerce were like fire and water, but Qin urgently needed a spirit stone. Therefore, there was no other way. Furthermore, Pan Dingtian should also give them some face. Even if he didn't, according to the business rules, they could just buy and sell directly. Therefore, the three of them left the Chamber of Commerce and turned a corner. In front of them stood a towering building. This was the Dragon Search Chamber of Commerce, which was currently the most powerful chamber of commerce in Lanyan City. Let's go in. Lin Muyu, who was dressed in a white imperial robe, strode in with Jin Xiaotang and Qin. Immediately, the guards at the door were stunned. They didn't know who Lin Muyu was, but they recognized the 3 gold stars on his military rank. He was a commander of the Empire. Furthermore, he was so young. They could easily guess who this young general was. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.